While riding his usual train to work, the protagonist, Takeru Kamishiro, is the type of person who completes his work and heads home after his shift ends. Even though Takeru lived a life without any disabilities, which is believed to be a blessing, a part of Takeru had always wished for something different. When Takeru opened his eyes, he was already in the middle of a forest and noticed something shining up in the sky that resembled Saturn. Takeru was surprised to see that his clothes had changed, blending into the world's style. Takeru was impressed with the material used in the clothes, as it was soft and easy to move in. He was puzzled when he noticed that his legs looked a little longer and shocked to see that another part of his body had grown. Looking for a mirror in his bag, Takeru was bewildered when he saw a dark space inside the bag. Putting his hand inside, he was surprised when an item screen appeared in front of him. When Takeru finally found the mirror, he was confused at first and wondered if the face reflected in the mirror was his. Observing the face more closely, Takeru noticed that it was much better than his old face, and he had a hard time believing he was now sporting a good-looking face. Focusing on his current situation, he then checked for any weapons he could use from his bag, as the world he was in was controlled by swords and magic, which meant that ferocious monsters could be lurking nearby. After checking the contents of his bag, the only item that intrigued Takeru was Ig's twig. Although the twig wasn't special, it still caught Takeru's attention because of its name, as he had heard it before in games and manga. When Takeru realized that the twig and the leaf at the end of the twig were part of the world tree, he became excited. However, he then felt discouraged, as the twig was still not a weapon he could use. With no other options, Takeru decided to look for a human village, as he did not have the courage to camp outside in a strange world. Even though he was in the middle of the forest, Takeru was still relieved to see a main road he could follow. Using the ill twig, Takeru decided which direction to take. With no prior knowledge about the world, Takeru planned to use the things granted to him by the god who had summoned him. He was sure things would work out on their own as he chose to go forward. Unbeknownst to Takeru, he was being watched by someone through a pigeon's eye. The man observing Takeru guessed he had picked the right person, as Takeru was quick-witted. Takeru's cause of death had been heart failure, and for certain reasons, intervention was needed on a planet called Medeus. The man was relieved that Takeru's journey was going well so far. Drinking his tea, he felt a little worried for Takeru, as he was the one who had sent him to Medeus. However, the man was sure Takeru would be fine, as he had given him plenty of convenient abilities. Before sending Takeru to Medeus, the man spoke to him about being a vanished person. After explaining that some aspects of being a vanished person didn't apply to him, the man also revealed that there had been other vanished person candidates before Takeru. However, Takeru was chosen because of a circumstance on Medeus. After listening to the man, Takeru asked about the man's identity. The man became happy, believing Takeru had taken an interest in him, and revealed he had no name, saying Takeru could call him whatever he wanted. When the man informed Takeru that he controlled the solar system, Takeru immediately assumed he was an alien. After clarifying that he was much closer to a god than an alien, the man mentioned he had accepted a request for help from another universe. The man informed Takeru that there was a planet in need of a little intervention, and that no matter how much they tampered with the planet called Medeus, it still didn't go well, and the civilization sometimes ended up ruined. Takeru was somewhat thankful for the science fiction manga he had read, as he was sure he would otherwise be screaming to be returned to his world after talking to someone who controlled the universe. The man revealed that they had intervened to provide the knowledge behind the manga and games that people love. Takeru was then told that tales and fables born on Earth are historical facts from stars somewhere in the universe. Takeru was shocked, as he could not fathom that there would be space wars and stories about Red Riding Hood. Circling back to their main concern, the man informs Takeru that Medeus is a world of swords and magic. The man then drops a cast of Takeru into the world of Medeus, and that drop would then become a ripple on the calm water's surface, and in time, it would become a surge that will change the whole world. Takeru tries to refuse the task being handed to him, but the man clarifies to Takeru that if he does not take on the job, his soul would just vanish, ending his whole existence. Takeru was scared, as he still wished to experience things that he had not yet done. The man guessed that Takeru was referring to a popular manga, and tried to spoil the ending for him, which Takeru begged the man not to reveal so casually. After pointing out to Takeru that there was no point in returning to Earth, as he had already died there, and in doing Takeru a favor, the man also erased a large quantity of data from his computer. When the man mentioned that he would be sending Takeru with some blessings to avoid an early death, Takeru was taken aback and clarified that he had never fought a monster before. The man knew that Takeru had no experience in fighting monsters, which is why he asked him to write down the superpowers he wanted on the reincarnation form, as he would grant them. Takeru was still having difficulty absorbing the fact that his daily life was over. Becoming more interested in Madeus, Takeru asks the man what kind of gifts he would receive. The man informs Takeru that he would first receive the gift of language. Stating the obvious, that Japanese would not be understood by the people residing in Madeus, the man gives Takeru a gift so he can understand all languages spoken by all races that live in Madeus, along with the ability to read and write their letters. Improving Takeru's physical abilities, the man gave Takeru poison and drug resistance along with immunity to everything. To help Takeru not panic under any circumstances, the man enhanced his calmness and added resistance and immunity to fear. Since he couldn't give Takeru cash, the man instead gave him investigation abilities so he could find raw materials. If the raw materials were sold at a raw materials shop, Takeru would then receive money. When Takeru requested a bag with unlimited capacity to hold various and multiple items, the man immediately recognized it as an item box and agreed to give it to Takeru. After informing Takeru that storing living things was impossible, he reassures him that he can at least store plants. After asking Takeru if there were other things he wanted to have, the man explained to Takeru that there were exceptions, such as no bread, side dishes, or living things. For his present to Takeru, the man manifested a hot spring manju for Takeru to bring. After asking the man to customize his bag, making sure that he is the only one who can use it, Takeru then wished to have the ability to use magic. The man agreed and enhanced Takeru's knowledge power to understand anything immediately, along with image materialization. Since there are tons of wild animals on Madeus, the man also made sure that Takeru would be liked by animals to a certain extent. When Takeru made another request, which was to have a cute partner, the man understood, since it is essential for an adventurer. The man agreed to give Takeru a cute partner, although he made it clear that he would not give them to Takeru right away, and that he would eventually meet them. Noticing the change in Takeru's body, the man realizes that it was now time for Takeru's departure. Takeru was shocked when he later realized that his body was becoming transparent. While the man was still adding a couple of things on the paper, Takeru's field of vision was gradually becoming dark. Before completely blacking out, Takeru was confused when the man asked him not to commit genocide. However, if Takeru had a logical reason, he had the man's permission. The story of Takeru starts with him intending to become just a little bit of a strong adventurer, to be able to find happiness. However, with the advantages given to him, a mere human named Takeru was able to evolve into something absurd, being categorized as a calamity class, though Takeru had no clue about it all. Takeru continued on with his journey and noticed that the path he was currently on was headed for a downslope. Seeing how great the view looked, Takeru immediately spotted a village ahead. Observing the villagers from afar, Takeru was convinced that they were humans. He was concerned that if he approached the village looking penniless, he was sure that he would not even get a meal. Takeru hoped to at least have something to exchange for money. His worry vanished when he remembered that the man had given him investigative abilities. Takeru regained his confidence as he also remembered that he could use magic, a power granted by God. Thinking that he needed a suitable chant for his spell, Takeru shouted, "Invoke investigation magic." However, he became embarrassed when nothing happened. While scribbling something on the ground, Takeru wondered if the way he had said the incantation was why the spell did not work. All of a sudden, a clover logo appeared in front of him. Takeru then realized that his surroundings were now covered not just with clover logos but also with other shapes. As various objects shone, Takeru wondered if they were hints for him to find raw materials. Spotting a glowing flower next to him, Takeru decided to examine it further. Saying the word scan, Takeru was able to open a screen that contained information about the glowing flower. Takeru found his skill to be very convenient, and moreover, he was very happy to learn that his first harvest was a rank B item. Though it did not give him the value of the item, Takeru still wanted to exchange it for at least a meal. Planning to gather more of the shining mushrooms, Takeru immediately saw a bunch of them. However, he quickly noticed that the rank of the mushrooms was different from the one he had picked before, as they were of a lower rank. Wondering how he would differentiate the items by rank, Takeru noticed an item that he hadn't scanned yet. Feeling its smoothness, Takeru thought it was a rock at first and decided to scan it to know for sure what he was holding. Takeru felt conflicted when he found that the item was of a high rank. However, he also learned that it was not a rock, but rather poop instead. After putting the high-grade poop in one of his bags, Takeru finally realized that the clover indicated plants, while hearts indicated poop. After finding materials from monsters and animals, Takeru noticed a diamond logo and wondered what it indicated. Using his scan ability, Takeru was able to conclude that diamonds indicate ores. After gathering a couple of materials, Takeru learned something about his spell. The heart indicates fauna materials from animals or beasts. The clover indicates flora materials like grass and flowers, and the diamond indicates mineral materials like ores. Hearing his stomach growl, Takeru realized that collecting various ingredients had made him hungry. To resolve his hunger problem, Takeru decided to eat the gift that the man had given him, a Tupperware containing hot manjus. As Takeru was about to take a bite, he was surprised to hear a loud rumbling sound nearby. Frightened, he wondered if it was a monster that had caught a whiff of his manjus. Takeru decided to retreat for now, but when he tried to leave, he heard another growl, making him wonder if he was now exposed. Facing a difficult situation, Takeru decided to confront the enemy head-on instead of ignoring it, and potentially getting killed in the process. Hoping that the monster would ignore him if he threw it a manju, Takeru slowly approached the source of the sound, which was behind a tree. Takeru did not expect that the source of the grumbling sound was coming from the elf's belly. When Takeru tried to make conversation with the elf, asking her if she was alive or hungry, the elf responded that it had been 3 days since she last ate. Takeru became worried, but since he did not have any food for the elf, he decided to give her his water instead. After being offered water, the elf immediately grabbed it and gulped it down. She was grateful to Takeru but still felt hungry. When Takeru noticed the elf looking at his manjus, he felt sad at first since it was his last food from Earth. The elf was very grateful to Takeru after receiving his manjus. With just one bite, she could not contain her emotions as she expressed the texture and taste of the manjus. With the sweetness of the manju alone, the elf felt like she was going to heaven. After drinking the water Takeru had given her, the elf praised the food he provided, and told him that she had never tasted anything so delicious before. Though Takeru was glad that the elf liked the food, he could not believe how lively she had become when she had been on the verge of death just moments ago. Takeru lectured the woman for not preparing enough food and water for her journey. He was then surprised when the elf suddenly threw a fit, telling him that she had her reasons, and that Takeru would not understand even if she explained them to him. The elf thanked Takeru for saving her life and informed him that she would return the favor in the future before leaving. Once again alone, Takeru was still somewhat grateful that he had at least found flowers, stones, and a huge poop, which he believed could be worth a meal or two. He no longer cared if he got scammed, as all he needed for the time being was money. Seeing that it was about to get dark, Takeru then set out for the village. Arriving at the remote village, Takeru called the gatekeeper's attention, making the gatekeeper wonder if he was a wanderer. After asking the gatekeeper about the village, he was told that the village is called Torimi Village, situated in the Rasuvaha region, which is north of Belkiam. When Takeru was asked if he had some business in the village, he first introduced himself and explained that he was experiencing financial problems. Believing that Takeru was a wanderer, the gatekeeper assumed he was an adventurer, though he noted that adventurers rarely visit the village. When the gatekeeper noticed Takeru's height, he asked if Takeru was some knight or swordsman. Takeru replied that he was nothing special but just a normal person who gathers and sells raw materials. The gatekeeper thought Takeru was a specialist in gathering raw materials, as such professions are very rare. Introducing himself as Marlowe, the gatekeeper reassured Takeru that although they are not famous, they can still accommodate wanderers. Marlowe informed Takeru that while they do not have a raw material shop, there is a general store owned by Jerome. Marlowe believed it would be beneficial for Takeru to visit Jerome, as there was a good chance Jerome might purchase his items. Takeru was relieved, as he had initially thought Marlowe might rob him, but he was glad to learn that the first person he met was kind. Walking inside the village, Takeru was having a difficult time locating Jerome's store, as he was eager to sell his raw materials immediately. Seeing some houses nearby, the villagers were surprised to see a new face and wondered if Takeru was a wanderer. Observing the villagers' expressions, Takeru guessed that wanderers were a rare sight in the village. A couple of kids then approached Takeru, amazed at how tall he was, even taller than their father. Not having experienced popularity with kids before, Takeru wondered if this was due to the skill he had been given. He used the opportunity to make his presence more favorable to the adults by showing he was no danger to the kids. After greeting and introducing himself to the kids, Takeru was asked if it was his first time visiting their village. Responding to one of the kids, Takeru asked a favor, to be pointed in the direction of the village's general store. As the kids agreed to guide him, Takeru did not expect them to fight over who would lead him. Realizing that the situation might look bad for him, as parents might dislike him for that, Takeru quickly grabbed the two kids to stop their quarrel. After putting the kids on his shoulders, he noticed the adults clapping, reassuring him that he had won their hearts. While talking to a kid named Rick, Takeru noticed that everyone in the village was around chest height, making him wonder if he was simply tall. Walking down the road, he didn't see anyone taller than himself, leading him to think he might appear as a giant to others. After the kids pointed out the general store, they bid him farewell and left. Upon entering Jerome's shop, Takeru did not expect the shop to have such a variety of items. The store made him feel like he was in a theme park, which made him want to laugh. After welcoming Takeru, Jerome remarked that it was rare for a wanderer to visit the village after Takeru introduced himself. Takeru then stated his business with Jerome, wanting his raw materials to be examined. Showing the poop he had picked up, Takeru asked Jerome if he could even sell it. Jerome was surprised to see hammer anteater feces, informing Takeru that he had found something very special. Seeing how impressed Jerome was, Takeru hadn't expected that the item he found lying on the ground could be so valuable. When Takeru asked if it was an item he could sell, Jerome confirmed it, even asking if he could buy it from him. Jerome mentioned it had been a long time since he had found hammer anteater feces in good condition, making him feel uneasy at the thought of Takeru selling it elsewhere. With confidence, Jerome offered Takeru 5 silver coins for the feces, but Takeru did not know how to react, as he was unfamiliar with the currency value in the world of Medeus. Takeru asked Jerome if there was an inn in the village. After learning that the Gallop Inn was just across the road, Takeru then asked Jerome how much an overnight stay would cost him. Takeru became more confused when Jerome mentioned 500 lib, another currency name. Things became more complicated when Jerome asked if it would be better to give Takeru 4 silver coins, 9 bronze, and 10 copper coins instead. Takeru apologized and explained that it had been a while since he had last used coins. He then asked Jerome to clarify exactly how much 500 lib was worth. Believing that Takeru was really from a rural place, Jerome explained that 500 lib would amount to 5 bronze coins or 50 copper coins. After considering the worth of each currency, Takeru was shocked to learn that the poop he found was far more valuable than an inn stay. Takeru was not certain about rural areas, but in Japan, staying in a very cheap hotel would cost at least 5,000 yen per night. If Takeru converted this to yen, using the 5,000 yen per night as an indicator, then the poop he found was worth around 50,000 yen. After having his offer accepted, Jerome was very happy, even rubbing the poop on his face. Finally, holding currency from the world of Medeus made Takeru very happy. Jerome asked Takeru if he had other materials for him to inspect. Not holding back on Jerome's offer, Takeru then laid out all of the raw materials he found. Jerome did not expect to see a couple of valuable items at first. However, he was shocked to see the moonlit nightgrass, a well-known rare item. Seeing the flower for the first time to be so big, Jerome asked Takeru where he found it. After Takeru informed Jerome that he found it in a forest to the north, Jerome immediately recognized it as the Barakia Great Forest. Noticing that the flower had just been plucked recently, Jerome asked Takeru where he had placed it. When Takeru showed Jerome his item box, Jerome was shocked and asked if Takeru was a gift bearer. Jerome informed Takeru that his power was rare and could only be found around the capital. After Jerome asked why he had visited the village, Takeru explained that he was living alone in a faraway place, had become curious about the outside world, and ended up becoming a raw material hunter. Jerome then finally understood why Takeru had little knowledge about their world and offered to tell him about gifts. Unlike skills, gifts are blessings that a person is born with. The possibility of someone being born with a gift is as small as 1 in 100,000. In the Gran Rio continent, even the most renowned magic academy in the capital city of Alshario has only a small number of people with gifts. There is a rumor that in a certain place there is a group of gift bearers with enough power to move a nation. While using it in small villages is fine, Jerome told Takeru that it would be a different story in Belkium, which is south of their current location. There would be people wanting to take advantage of Takeru's gift, and even suspicious individuals wanting to invite Takeru to join them. After explaining to Takeru how his life could be put in danger just because of his gift, Jerome pointed out that his item box would be a hint to everyone that he was a gift bearer, suggesting that Takeru should not tell anyone about it. Grabbing a book from the shelf, Jerome handed it to Takeru. The book contained most of the basics about magical items. Jerome revealed that the book was worth 3 silver coins, but since Takeru had brought in excellent materials, he decided to give Takeru the book as a gift. Jerome then mentioned that he wanted something in exchange for the favor, which Takeru clarified to him that he was not a specialist. However, Jerome firmly believed that Takeru was a specialist and could no longer be swayed otherwise. Takeru agreed, but clarified to Jerome that it depended on the request and reminded him again that there were still many things he did not understand. Jerome informed Takeru of a supposed rumor that there was a mithril ore in a mountain west of their location. The twist was that the rumors were actually true, and that Jerome wanted Takeru to retrieve the mithril ore from the mountain. Having some small knowledge about mithril ores from the games he had played and manga he had read before, Takeru agreed and asked Jerome if he had a map of the mountain. Jerome was ecstatic when Takeru accepted the request and gave him a deposit of 10,000 lib. Takeru was shocked when Jerome mentioned that he would give him another 100,000 if he succeeded with his request, and another extra depending on the result. Worried, Takeru asked Jerome if it was okay for him to receive such an amount even if he couldn't find the mithril ore. Jerome was not worried. As long as Takeru sold the materials to him, he would make a huge profit. Jerome asked Takeru if he would be fine since there was a high chance that he would encounter a D-ranked monster. Upon hearing that he would encounter monsters, Takeru was immediately hesitant to go. However, Jerome encouraged him, believing that Takeru had some trick up his sleeve to deal with the monsters. To show good faith, Jerome also decided to purchase all of the raw materials that Takeru had collected. For all the materials Takeru had collected, he was shocked when Jerome offered 360 lib for all of them. With the amount of money he had gained, Takeru thought that there was no longer a need for him to proceed with the request. Entering the Gallop Inn, Takeru notices that no one is around and tries to call for someone. The Gallop Inn's owner, Konfia, then reveals herself, apologizing to Takeru for not greeting him right away as she was helping her husband in the kitchen. When Takeru mentions that he visited the inn as per Jerome's recommendation, Konfia then recognizes Takeru as the tall wanderer the children are talking about. After confirming that he is indeed the person the kids are talking about, Takeru introduces himself and informs Konfia that he plans to stay at the inn for a while, asking if there is an available room. Since Jerome took a liking to Takeru, Konfia lowers the price for him, including breakfast with the overnight stay for 500 lib. Takeru thanks Konfia for the discount and gives her 10 days worth of money as he plans to stay for some time. Konfia informs Takeru that if he wishes to have a bento, he will just have to let her know. Takeru accepts the offer and asks to have a bento for lunch. After showing Takeru to the dining room, Konfia then shows him their toilet, which surprises Takeru. Seeing how old and outdated the toilet is, Takeru begins to appreciate the modern toilet and its bidet. Before handing Takeru his key, Konfia advises him to speak up if things get rowdy, as the place would turn into a tavern at night, making more noise. After walking down the long hall, Takeru opens the door to his room, situated at the farthest back. Upon seeing how decent the room looks, Takeru is unsure if what he paid was expensive, but in his opinion, the room is quite affordable. Having a place to finally relax, Takeru checks his item box for any casual clothing he could wear. After noting the types of clothing he has in his inventory, Takeru decides to use a normal shirt and leisure pants as pajamas. Laying on his bed, Takeru thinks it would be nice if he could also take a shower or a bath. Not seeing a bath in his room, Takeru wonders if the inn even has one. Checking out the book Jerome gave him, Takeru is very impressed with the gift of language Jerome provided, as he's already getting used to the language. Reading the book in more detail, Takeru realizes it's more of a guidebook than a basic knowledge book for adventurers. In the book, it states that adventurers are registered with a guild and earn their living by completing quests. Meanwhile, wanderers are just people who visit different places out of interest. Takeru guesses the reason people call him a wanderer is that he doesn't look like an adventurer. As Takeru reads further, he learns that the guild is a place where jobs circulate, ranging from helping with simple everyday tasks to gathering materials for armor, weapons, and medicines. An adventurer's job can also include hunting certain monsters, seeking rare items, escorting royal families, transporting cargo, and even joining wars. Guild adventurers rank up according to their popularity and experience, with F and E ranks for new adventurers, D for common adventurers, and C for veteran adventurers. Starting from B rank, adventurers are recognized individually for their skills and often move separately from others. The A rank position is highly revered. The most special ranks are S rank and SS rank. S rank adventurers are considered heroes, and if someone reaches SS rank, their status is high enough that even a king would bow down to them. Takeru learns from the book that there are currently 4 SS rank adventurers in the world, whose locations are unknown. Now knowing more details, Takeru realizes that SS rank adventurers are indeed a big deal, as they can make even a king bow down. Takeru continues reading and reaches the part where the book discusses the world's currency. The form of coins varies across different countries, but the value remains the same, from copper, bronze, and silver to white silver, gold, and lastly, continental gold. Commoners usually use copper and silver coins, while gold and continental gold coins are used by nobles and merchants. Takeru also learns that there is paper money for values above the continental gold coin. After doing his own calculations, Takeru is able to compare 1 lib to 10 yen. Since there is no 1 lib coin, Takeru guesses that the lowest possible price is 10 lib. Taking out the potion he received from Jerome, Takeru compares the potion to some home medicine after reading about its details. There are 4 levels of healing potions, and the price spikes up the higher the quality of the potion is. These levels include the lowest quality potion, middle quality potion, high potion, and high quality potion. Middle quality potions cost around 10,000 lib per bottle, and they can heal wounds, bruises, burns, sprains, and other minor injuries, while high-quality potions are usually used by people like high-ranking adventurers in wars. The high-quality potion costs around 100,000 lib or even more. High-quality potions can heal limbs that have been cut off as long as the person is still alive, and if the potion is ingested, it will immediately replace lost blood and neutralize deadly poison. Above all, this potion is considered legendary and is known as the ultimate healing potion. Takeru did not expect that he would read about medics in the book, as he assumed they did not exist in this world. People who use magic to heal are called healing mages. Skilled healing mages typically work for nobles or serve as imperial knights working exclusively for the royal family. This leaves commoners to receive treatment only from medics. Those who can make healing potions are called pharmacists, and may also be considered alchemists in some sense. No matter how strong a healing potion or healing magic is, nothing can bring back the dead. Takeru initially thought resurrection might be possible since they can regenerate severed limbs, but guessed that it was just too difficult. After reading the book, Takeru understood what he needed to do first, which was to take the initiative to work and gain a regular income. Although Takeru liked living a stable life, he realized that doing so would mean that nothing had changed from his previous world. He wanted to explore the world of Medeus and see its different places. Takeru realized that becoming an adventurer would be the best way to achieve this wish. The last part of the book discussed magic items, which are tools powered by magic stones. Magic stones are solidified concentrations of magical energy, and by filling these magic stones with various kinds of magic and using them as fuel, people can create different kinds of magic items. Takeru concluded that the magical energy is similar to a battery. He realized that his dimensional bag was very convenient, but he also worried because he believed it was valued at several continental gold coins. As Takeru thought of taking a bath, he heard a knock on his door. Upon opening it, he saw the inn's waitress bringing him hot water. Confused as to why he was being handed hot water, Takeru was informed by the waitress that the water was free, but if he needed more, he would have to pay 30 lib each time. After thanking the waitress, Takeru shared with her how curious he was about their country, and he asked her what he should do with the hot water. The waitress laughed, making Takeru wonder if he had said something strange. The waitress apologized, saying she hadn't expected anyone to actually ask her, which she found amusing. She informed Takeru that he could use the hot water to wipe his body. When Takeru asked if she knew what a bath was, he was shocked to learn that while she knew about baths, only nobles could use them. Takeru felt his soul leave his body upon learning that most people, aside from nobles, used the well outside to wash up. Takeru was surprised when the waitress mentioned that people could use magic to clean themselves, though she added that no magician in Tormi could perform that. Takeru thanked her for informing him of such convenient magic. The waitress was confused when Takeru handed her 50 lib, as the hot water was only 30 lib. After he explained that it was his way of saying thanks for the information she provided, she accepted it and thanked him as well. Before leaving, she introduced herself as Ellie. After receiving some useful information, Takeru thought he might also be able to use this magic, just as he had used search magic. Thinking of the word to cast such magic, Takeru deduced that it was cleanse. Saying the word out loud, he accidentally activated the spell, surprising himself in the process. Seeing that his hair and body were now silky clean, Takeru realized how convenient the skill was. Although the skill itself was very convenient, as someone who loved a long soak in a bath, the cleanse skill left him unsatisfied. From that moment on, Takeru swore to get in a bath one day. Waking up to the sound of birds chirping, Takeru initially thought that the events that had happened to him were all just a dream. However, when he awoke in the same world, Takeru concluded that everything was not a dream. He heated up water in the basin and used it to wipe his face. Even though Takeru could easily use magic to clean himself, he still felt gross if he didn't wash his face and hands himself. Seeing the villagers already up and preparing to start their day's work, Takeru realized it was already common for the villagers to begin their activities as soon as the Saturn-shaped sun rose. Hearing his stomach rumble, Takeru decided to head out and find something to eat. Arriving at the diner, Takeru was greeted by Konfia, who informed him that he had come at the perfect time. Konfia then asked Takeru to sit down and wait for a bit, as she would soon serve him the soup she had just prepared. Observing his surroundings, Takeru wondered if the people eating at the inn were also staying there. Konfia returned from the kitchen with a large serving for Takeru. Since Takeru was noticeably bigger than the rest, Konfia gave him extra food, believing he would need more. With no choice, as he had already been offered such a generous meal, Takeru began to eat and was amazed by how delicious the food was. He continued to chomp down on the meat, even though he had no idea where it came from. The meat's juices and the sauce intertwined perfectly, which Takeru found to be exceptionally delicious. Drinking the soup to help with a piece of meat that had become stuck in his throat, Takeru appreciated the soup's strong flavor and believed he could drink gallons of it. Initially, Takeru had been worried about how the food would taste compared to Japan, but after enjoying the delicious meal, he realized he didn't need to worry. Finishing everything that was served to him, Takeru praised Konfia's husband for his cooking. When he asked if they sourced all their ingredients locally, Konfia explained that while she bought spices and seasonings from merchants in Belgium, the meats, vegetables, and soybeans were all from the village. She added that she had been concerned since she'd prepared a huge bento, but seeing Takeru finish everything, she realized it had been enough. Konfia had heard from Jerome that Takeru would be heading to the mountain in the west, and she mentioned to him that he should have informed her earlier so she could have prepared more food. When Konfia asked if he had all his equipment ready, Takeru reassured her, explaining that he had already acquired everything he needed from Jerome's shop. Knowing that the bento she had prepared might not be enough for Takeru's journey, Konfia planned to add extra meat and seasonings. After Takeru thanked Konfia for providing him with more food, even though they had only met a few days earlier, he asked if there was anything he could do for her. Accepting Takeru's offer, Konfia requested that he pick up something edible and bring it back for her. When Takeru agreed, Konfia informed him that she would waive his rent while he was away in exchange for this favor, and wished him a safe journey. Heading west, Takeru found some mushrooms, picking them up for Konfia. Although Takeru had already walked quite a distance from the village, he still couldn't see any man-made structures, which unnerved him. This area, including Tormi village, was called the Barakia Great Forest. Comparing it to Japan, where he would see power lines and even helicopters in rural areas, he realized the area he was currently in was nothing but trees and grass. Takeru also discovered that he could use his search skill and expand its reach by exerting more power, increasing the search range. Using all his strength in search, everything around Takeru began to shine, allowing him to see even the worth of a single roadside stone. The markers in his surroundings would change if Takeru thought they were sellable. Takeru also learned how to customize his search by focusing only on materials above C rank. If there were no markers visible, it meant there were no materials above C rank in the area. In just a small amount of time, Takeru discovered different kinds of livelihood magic. The first is that Takeru can create wind, similar to a dryer with the spell Dry. If Takeru puts more power into the spell, he would be able to create a tornado. When his spell turned into a cyclone, Takeru panicked as it now looked like a big disaster. Another spell that Takeru learned was Lighter, which manifests a small flame like a lighter by snapping his fingers. Adding more power to the spell, the lighter would then evolve into fire and then flame. The strongest version of the spell is called Flamer, which has the potential to also start a disaster. The fact that livelihood magic can be turned into offensive magic scares Takeru, but he then thought that the powered-up spells could be good for self-defense as well, and he reminded himself not to forget them. Takeru was also grateful for the experience he gained from playing video games, as it helped him come up with ideas for his other spells. By performing basic spells and combining them, Takeru learned that he could create new kinds of spells, such as a veil of mist perfect for hiding, by heating water into vapor and then cooling it with wind. Listing the spells he deemed dangerous, Takeru had no plans to use them, but knew that there would be a time when he wouldn't have any other choice. Being able to create fire or water out of nothing made Takeru so happy that he started skipping like a fool without even realizing it. Finding himself already in the White Tree Forest by evening, Takeru noted that normally it would take a full day to reach, which made him wonder how much his physical power had increased. Although it was a good thing that he arrived early, Takeru thought he might have arrived at a bad time. Expecting the forest to be dangerous at night, Takeru decided to set up camp first. Taking precautions, Takeru placed a barrier around his camp. Takeru then went ahead and prepared his meal by first placing a pot on a whole bunch of magic stones, and then pouring water from his water bottle. Watching the water boil, Takeru added the seasonings and vegetables he had gathered, and lastly, the meat. After cooking, Takeru was ready to eat his food, which consisted of his special meat soup and the Gallop Inn's special sandwich. Tasting the soup, Takeru could not believe how it tasted like a super tasty consommé. Tasting the meat next, he didn't expect it to be so juicy, complementing the soup's flavor. Enjoying how crispy the vegetables he picked were, Takeru then finished his dinner with the Gallop Inn's sandwich. Praising the world of Medeus for having the best cuisine, Takeru ended up finishing everything. With the spell clean, Takeru no longer needed to stand up and wash the plate by hand, which made him think it was the pinnacle of happiness. Being able to use the clean spell on his teeth as well, Takeru realized why science wasn't advancing in Medeus since magic was so convenient. With magic alone, people could live lazily. Takeru felt so lazy that he didn't feel like standing anymore. When morning finally came, Takeru was ready to enter the White Tree Forest, which was on another level compared to Fuji's Sea of Trees. According to his map, Takeru just had to go straight east from his location, and then he would reach a canyon, where he would be able to find the mithril ore. For an area where one can mine precious ore like mithril, Takeru believed it was likely maintained by a landlord or country. The White Tree Forest is also called the Ancient Dragon Forest, an area filled with monsters. If Takeru were a rank A adventurer, he wouldn't need to worry about surprise attacks, but he wasn't sure if a material hunter like himself had the power to fight strong monsters or defend against ambushes. Since mithril ore is a valuable material, only those with enough knowledge and experience can find it. Adventurers and material hunters tend to avoid the White Tree Forest, but it's also a place where people can get rich quickly by risking their lives. With this in mind, Takeru moved forward and started hunting for materials. After entering the White Tree Forest, Takeru thought that at least some sunlight could penetrate through, but he was only met with total darkness. Casting the spell light, Takeru immediately learned why it was difficult for him to walk and why the place was so humid. Expanding the spell search, Takeru did not see any marks around the area, forcing him to go much deeper into the valley. Seeing many herbs and plants that he had never picked before, Takeru was sure that Konfia would be happy, so he decided to bring some of those plants with him. Takeru wondered if the reason why there were so many unknown mushrooms and anteater droppings everywhere was that the place was rarely visited. Remembering that there were monsters inside the forest, Takeru became more nervous as he did not hear any sounds at all. Staying vigilant at all times, after a couple of minutes due to Takeru's ability to adapt, he was now skipping happily and was no longer thinking about the dangers lurking nearby. Takeru did not understand why people said there were dangerous monsters in the White Tree Forest when he could not even find one. Seeing the forest for himself, Takeru believed that the monsters were just a rumor someone had made up to monopolize the area. Stepping on something hard, Takeru was surprised when he saw the skeletal remains of a human. Takeru felt a bit irritated when his skill provided him with information about what had happened to the skeleton before it faced its demise. Now believing that there were indeed monsters inside the forest, Takeru was even more worried since he hadn't found a dead body until now. He thought about how great it would be if his ability could be customized to search for the presence of monsters. To his surprise, Takeru was able to determine the monsters' locations using the search spell. Realizing that he was being surrounded by monsters in a circle, Takeru noted that, from what he could see, the animals in the White Tree Forest were also considered monsters. However, he was very curious as to why the animals were keeping their distance from him. Takeru also noticed that as he continued walking, the monsters slowly withdrew as well. Wondering if the monsters were afraid of him at first, Takeru then thought that it might be because he smelled bad, leading him to believe he was a stench weapon. Unable to check his own body, Takeru then thought that Jerome and the others from the village might have believed that he smelled bad all along. No longer caring how he smelled, Takeru forced himself to believe that the stench did not belong to him, but rather to the body of the person he was using. Since the monsters were not attacking him, Takeru took the opportunity to sprint toward the canyon. He was amazed at how light his body felt, not even feeling any fatigue in his legs. Seeing that he was about to reach the edge of the forest, Takeru increased his speed. He did not expect that the valley was right beyond the forest. As he ran toward a cliff, Takeru suddenly fell and immediately grabbed a root. However, it ended up breaking. Realizing that he was in a bad situation, Takeru thought that he would survive if he could only float. Shouting the word fly, Takeru then opened his eyes and learned that he was now floating and almost hitting the ground. Relieved to be saved, Takeru reminded himself not to let his guard down. Wondering if he was now in the valley that Jerome had told him about, Takeru immediately noticed the ore marks popping up on the side of the wall. Seeing stairs nearby, Takeru guessed that others had visited the place long ago. As Takeru started digging, he was able to extract a silver ore. Upon learning that he could obtain rare ones, Takeru decided to keep digging. However, as he continued, all he was able to collect were silver and iron ores. Left with no other option, Takeru had to go deeper. Noticing that visibility was getting worse, Takeru decided to cast multiple lights to provide more information about his surroundings. He believed he would be able to see magma at the bottom. However, even after dropping some light, he still could not find it. Since he had walked quite far down, Takeru then used his search spell and saw a marking, but the marking shown was faint. The faint marking made Takeru wonder if the ore was located deep inside rather than on the surface. Noticing how the place kept shaking, Takeru wondered what the cause could be as he remembered that there were no active volcanoes around. Since Takeru did not have any explosives with him, he decided to tear the walls down with magic instead. Not wanting to get hurt while tearing down the walls, Takeru put up a barrier for protection. He then planned to use a small fire and gradually make it bigger. Casting the flame spell, Takeru activated another spell called Eruption when the flame struck the wall, causing an explosion. Seeing how wonderfully his spell worked, Takeru ran down the stairs, eager to see what was inside. Upon discovering another path, Takeru felt that he was now inside a dungeon. As he wondered why there was a path behind the plain rock wall, he guessed that the place might have been a mine a long time ago. Finally seeing a more visible mark, Takeru hoped he was now digging for mithril ore. Takeru eventually found some mithril ores, however the size was just too small. Hoping to brag about the mithril ore to Jerome, Takeru decided to continue digging in hopes of finding more mithril ores. Hitting a wall with his pickaxe, Takeru accidentally discovered an underground lake which he found truly amazing. He hoped the water was drinkable, as he would love to fill his water bottle and bring some back. Using the fly spell to lower himself near the lake, Takeru was even more amazed by how beautiful the water was. Before putting his dirty hands into the lake, Takeru felt guilty and cleaned them first. Taking precautions, Takeru scanned the lake and discovered that it was actually underground magic water, ranked SS. Believing it to be his greatest find so far, Takeru then realized why the water looked so clear, as it was ranked as something akin to legendary. Remembering how the legends mentioned that an ancient dragon once lived in the area, Takeru wondered if the magic water was infused with the energy of that ancient dragon. Unbeknownst to Takeru, he had awoken something that was now asking him a couple of questions. However, Takeru did not seem to hear the voice and continued talking to himself. Itching to taste the magical water, Takeru reached out his hands. The voice, having had enough of Takeru ignoring him, decided to make his presence known, revealing itself to be a giant red dragon and telling Takeru to listen. Observing the dragon's renowned characteristics, Takeru thought that the dragon looked several times larger than the Tyrannosaurus Rex he had seen in the museum. The pressure the dragon emitted was making Takeru's whole body numb. When Takeru heard the dragon's voice, he wondered if the dragon was using telepathy, as he was receiving words directly in his mind. Seeing the dragon's angry expression, Takeru thought of apologizing. After apologizing for intruding on the White Tree Forest without permission, Takeru never imagined that a day would come when he would bow his head to a dragon. The dragon then asked Takeru if humans knew that the lake was the nest of an ancient dragon. Takeru explained that he had no idea the lake was a nest and revealed that he had once heard the place called the Ancient Dragon Forest, but never thought it was something from so many years ago. Recognizing the dragon's manner of speaking, Takeru then introduced himself. Upon learning that Takeru was human, the dragon explained that he was woken up after sensing an enormous pool of magical power that had suddenly appeared. As Takeru wondered where the magical power that the dragon felt had come from, he felt a bit offended when the dragon called him stupid. After apologizing for saying something cheeky, Takeru thought about how he still did not understand the magical power the dragon was talking about. All of a sudden, the dragon started laughing, causing the entire place to shake. A rock fell from the ceiling, surprising Takeru as it almost hit him. Takeru then pleaded with the dragon to stop laughing. The two then apologized to one another for causing each other distress. Unsure how to explain his situation, Takeru was confident that the dragon would not understand if he revealed that he had been transported from Earth to Medeus. When Takeru mentioned that he was born through a special method, the dragon responded that he did not know what art was used to bring Takeru to life, but assessed that the power was strong enough to wake him up. When Takeru asked if the dragon meant the light he had cast, the dragon explained that the power that woke him up rivaled his own. Believing there was more to what Takeru was saying, the dragon asked if he was really human. Seeing the dragon's point, Takeru shared that he didn't tire easily and also had the ability to use magic. The dragon then told Takeru that it did not matter to him what Takeru really was, and shared that he had never met anyone like Takeru even after living for a few thousand years. Takeru's eyes glowed when the dragon mentioned that he was once called the Ancient Dragon. The dragon smiled when Takeru told him that there was an air of reverence and divinity surrounding him. When Takeru mentioned it was his first time meeting a race other than an elf, the dragon responded that his magic power was way too strong. Therefore, he believed that all low-class creatures would not even try to approach him. When Takeru learned that common monsters and animals were afraid to go near the dragon, he realized that his own magic power was so strong that the forest monsters dared not come close to him. The dragon informed Takeru that excessively strong magic power would only become poison, and pointed out that the lake had been basking in his magical energy for years. Takeru asked the dragon if the high concentration of magic was the reason why the underground lake was created. When the dragon responded yes, Takeru was surprised when the dragon mentioned that the lake, filled with such intense magical power, could kill him someday. After being reassured by the dragon that the lake would not harm him, Takeru nervously asked if he could call him Vol. Takeru then shared with Vol his goal of becoming a material collector, which meant that he would have to gather materials and meat from monsters. Takeru thought it would be troublesome if all the monsters ran away from him, so he asked Vol what he needed to do to prevent that. Takeru felt disappointed, as he did not know what to do with his overflowing power. Vol then asked Takeru if he could lend him his power. Combining Takeru's power with his raw strength, Vol tells him that he can awaken his own children. Takeru noticed the sad expression on Vol's face before he started telling his story. The black god Voldius was one of the 4 gods who watched over the world. Voldius has the duty to create and protect the world and to uphold peace within it. A few hundred years ago, the flow of magical energy surrounding the world suddenly changed, causing the magical energy in the lake to become stagnant. Because of this sudden change, Voldius's children, who were meant to watch over the next era, can't wake up from their eggs. Meanwhile, Voldius's powerful magical energy is also consuming his body from the inside. If Takeru pours his raw magical power, which hasn't yet turned into poison, into Voldius's eggs, it increases the probability that Vol's eggs can hatch. After putting his power into the eggs and losing it, Takeru is then informed that he can recover his magical energy by absorbing the magical energy within the cave. Takeru asks Vol if it's really safe for him to absorb the magical energy, which has become poisonous even for Vol. Confused, Vol explains to Takeru that he would have died the moment he stepped inside the cavern if it were dangerous. Vol also clarifies that it's his magical power that is poisoned, not the cave's magical energy. After establishing that the magical energy is safe for them to use, Takeru then reveals to Vol the reason he entered the cave in the first place, which is to look for mithril ores. Dipping his finger in the lake, Vol reassures Takeru that he can provide the mithril ores himself. Suddenly the entire place begins shaking and a large number of mithril magic ores rated as SS-ranked materials emerge from the lake. Takeru is shocked by Vol's generosity when he is told to take as much as he wants. Takeru tells Vol that he would cause a market crash if he brings that much mithril ore. Takeru instead asks Vol if he has other mithril ores that he can safely bring into human society. When Vol mentions that Takeru is not a greedy person, Takeru actually wants to take all the magical mithril ores, but is more afraid of the trouble he would cause by bringing them into human society. After comparing the mithril ore he found and the one that Vol manifested, Takeru can immediately tell the difference in radiance between the two. Not wanting to return with incomplete information, Takeru decides to take some of the magical mithril ores. After thanking Vol for showing him such amazing things, the two then proceed with hatching the dragons from their eggs. Using his magic, Vol reveals one of his eggs, which surprises Takeru, as he did not expect the egg to be so large. After taking the egg, Takeru can hear a faint sound of a beating heart inside, but the egg feels very cold. Takeru remembers that eggs close to hatching are supposed to be warm, but Vol's eggs look more like fossils or clumps of stone. After asking Vol what he should do next, Takeru is then instructed to pour his magical power into the egg by granting it light. Takeru still finds Vol's instructions quite vague, but decides to try warming the egg first by casting the spell Heat onto it. Regardless of whether it's an egg or something else, Takeru believes that all things containing a soul should be warm. Takeru's idea is to warm the egg to try to wake the dragon inside. He is surprised when the dragon inside the egg begins using heat as well. Takeru thinks the situation is getting worse as he feels his body being sucked into the egg. Panicking, he realizes that the egg is pulling him in without restraint. The entire place starts shaking violently because Vol is laughing too hard. As Takeru's body is being pulled, he feels that his whole existence might cease to be. Remembering the man who claims to be a god, Takeru vows to curse him to death even if he gets consumed by the egg. As the egg consumes Takeru's power, it begins to flicker. Surrounded by darkness, Takeru wonders if he is still alive or dead. Hearing a voice that tells him his actions were reckless, Takeru becomes curious if it is God speaking. Takeru is told that a normal person would either immediately faint or run away as fast as they could when meeting a dragon. Even though Takeru was given a fear resistance ability, God states that the ability has no effect against the dragon. God becomes annoyed when Takeru mentions he was not scared, and even thought the dragon was cool. Caught up in the moment, God informs Takeru that his decision was not necessarily wrong. Surprisingly, God tells Takeru that he is actually heading in the right direction. After meddling with the world of Medeus for hundreds of thousands of years without success, God does not like the fact that the ripple has suddenly widened. As Takeru's vision starts to darken, he is puzzled by what God is talking about. When Takeru finally wakes up, all he sees is darkness, which makes him wonder if he is still in the world where he spoke with God. After hearing Vol's voice, Takeru immediately feels pain all over his body. Vol never thought that Takeru would survive after losing so much power. Although he told Takeru he would not die in the process, Vol's expectations were exceeded after seeing Takeru's power. Feeling exhausted all over his body, Takeru suddenly hears a cute cry and tells Vol that such a cry does not fit with the type of character he is. Casting a light spell, it is then revealed that the source of the cute cry is a small dragon. Seeing the broken shell beside the small dragon, Takeru feels ecstatic as Vol's egg has finally hatched. Takeru is surprised when the baby dragon suddenly pounces on him. Observing his child's behavior, Vol can immediately tell that his child has become attached to him, and advises Takeru to give his child a name. Takeru did not expect to be given an opportunity to name a dragon, so he asks Vol if it is really okay. Vol reassures Takeru that it is fine, as he has already decided on the true name for his child, and wants his child to receive a common name from Takeru. Still unable to believe that he is being given the opportunity to name a dragon, Takeru takes some time to think of a cool and dignified name for Vol's offspring. With no talent for thinking up a good name, Takeru ends up burning himself out. Using other animals and their common names as references, Takeru then tries coming up with a name based on the dragon's skin color. After giving it some thought, Takeru finally comes up with the name Black Nobi. Hearing its own name, Black Nobi becomes excited and pounces on Takeru again. Though Takeru appreciates being liked by a dragon, he is still unable to hold his breath long enough to endure the stench of the baby dragon. Surprised that the whole place is shaking again, Takeru pleads with Vol to stop laughing so hard, as the whole cave could collapse on them. Vol apologizes, as he momentarily cannot contain his happiness. After Takeru asks if the name he came up with is good, Vol responds that the name suits his child. The name of Vol's child would be known as Black Nubi Voldias. Takeru tries to clarify to Vol that the name he came up with is Black Nobi, not Black Nubi. However, Vol is no longer listening to him and is content with the name Black Nubi. Takeru feels apologetic, thinking he has failed in naming the baby dragon properly. Though Takeru ends up giving a strange name, he is still not too sad since Black Nobi seems to like it. When asked by Vol how his body feels, Takeru realizes he no longer feels any pain, and that his muscles have stopped hurting. Vol explains that the reason Takeru's body feels rejuvenated is because he has absorbed Vol's magical energy. Worried, Takeru asks Vol if he is alright now. Vol expresses that it has been a long time since he felt so good, as Takeru's efforts have purified his magical energy. Unsure how to thank Takeru for the help, Vol tells him that if he ever wants something other than the magic ore, all he needs to do is ask. Vol does not expect that Takeru would just ask for the water in the lake containing magical energy, and tells him he can take as much as he wants. After getting Vol's permission, Takeru realizes he does not have an empty bottle to use. When Vol notices Takeru's item box, he is intrigued by it, as it uses space magic. Vol flicks the lake, shooting water right into Takeru's item box, solving the problem. Vol then informs Takeru that his bag is now connected to the lake. Checking his item box, Takeru is surprised to see that the magic water now has an infinity sign. Not sure how he would retrieve the magic water, Takeru tests an idea. Using the cup he got from Jerome, Takeru puts his hand inside the bag and imagines scooping the magic water. To Takeru's surprise, his idea works, and he is able to scoop the magic water inside his item box. Takeru is confused when Vol mentions letting Black Nobi breathe from time to time and using the magic water as nourishment. Takeru feels overwhelmed to have the ancient dragon cub as part of his party. After finally seeing his offspring, Takeru asks Vol why he would leave it with a nobody like him. For the sole reason that Takeru saved his child, Vol assigns him the responsibility of taking care of Black Nobi. Vol explains that Takeru poured his soul into the egg, helping the dragon to hatch. Vol believes that Takeru should be the one to take care of Black Nobi, as it also has a part of Takeru inside. Turning around, Vol tells Takeru that if Black Nobi does not grow up as a strong dragon, he will return to Mother Earth. Believing that Takeru is much stronger than himself, Vol feels safe leaving his child with Takeru. Still unable to believe that he is being handed the responsibility of caring for an ancient dragon cub, Takeru has no choice but to take care of Black Nobi. Before starting their journey together, Takeru first gives Black Nobi a bath. After getting out of the cave, Takeru felt that he had been inside for a long time. Exhausted and hungry, Takeru took a cup of the magic water and gave it to Black Nobi. Loving the taste of the magic water, Black Nobi also offered it to Takeru. Wondering which direction he should take, Takeru thought of going back to the forest again, but then he would have to climb back up the valley. Seeing that it was about to get dark soon, Takeru told Black Nobi they would just camp for now and move when there was more daylight. Using the ingredients inside his item box, Takeru was able to make both his special soup and steak. Seeing how delicious it looked, Black Nobi immediately nodded when Takeru asked if he wanted to eat as well. Takeru was worried for Black Nobi, thinking he might get a stomachache from eating human food. Handing out a bowl of soup, Takeru warned Black Nobi that the soup was hot, but Black Nobi did not listen and ended up spitting out the hot soup after gulping it down. Takeru then advised the young dragon not to be hasty and to blow on the soup first before drinking it. Following Takeru's instructions, Black Nobi was very happy after tasting the soup without getting burned. Seeing that Black Nobi liked the soup, Takeru then offered him more food. Seeing how full Black Nobi was, Takeru felt relieved upon learning that the young dragon could also eat other foods and not just drink the magic water. After asking Black Nobi if he felt lonely being away from his parents, Takeru was surprised when all of a sudden, Black Nobi crawled onto him and hugged him, finding Black Nobi's gesture very cute. Takeru then reminded the young dragon not to do anything reckless, even if he became stronger than him. Feeling that he could understand Black Nobi a little bit, Takeru appreciated Black Nobi's thought of wanting to help, and he clarified that it was his job to protect small kids. As Takeru mentioned how Vol would get angry at him if anything happened to the young dragon, he then noticed that Black Nobi was no longer listening and was soundly asleep. Using his scan on Black Nobi while he was currently asleep, Takeru felt small compared to the young dragon, as it was currently a B rank even though it had recently hatched from its egg. Still having no clue how to interpret the ranking system, all Takeru knew was that since Black Nobi was an ancient dragon cub, he would become very strong. Remembering that he had asked for a cute companion, Takeru never thought that the cute companion he was given would be a dragon. Seeing that Black Nobi indeed looked cute, Takeru guessed it was fine to have a dragon companion. After putting up his barrier, Takeru decided to sleep in the open, as it looked like it would not rain after he looked at the sky. After getting only a small amount of mithril, Takeru still thought that everything was good since he still had some time. Hoping that Jerome would not be mad at him for only bringing a small piece of mithril, Takeru thought of coming up with an excuse to tell Jerome. Facing the problem of how to explain Black Nobi, Takeru came up with a story about finding an egg during his journey, which then followed him after seeing Takeru right after it hatched. Since black dragons exist in the world of Medeus, Takeru decided to just stick with the story that Black Nobi is a black dragon cub, not an ancient dragon cub, which would bring him more problems. When morning came, Takeru made a simple breakfast and gave Black Nobi some water to drink. After climbing up the cliff, Takeru was curious about what had happened in the forest. Seeing Black Nobi fly around, Takeru reminded the young dragon not to go too far away. While Black Nobi was having fun flying, Takeru decided to gather some C-rank materials he could find. While gathering some unknown herbs, Takeru was surprised when Black Nobi suddenly hid under his robe. Seeing Black Nobi's frightened look, Takeru was sure that something had happened and immediately expanded his search ability to look for aggressive monsters. To Takeru's surprise, multiple monsters were nearby. He wondered if the monsters were now trying to pounce on him because he had taken some of Vol's magic energy. Takeru then thought that he could use the opportunity to gain experience and also get some rare materials. After customizing his search spell to look for monsters that contained D-rank material, he immediately found quite a few of them. Takeru then calmed Black Nobi and reassured him that he would take care of everything. After advising Black Nobi to just hide, Takeru heard a flapping sound behind him and was surprised to see that it came from a C-ranked monster, the Rock Falcon. Although the monster was huge, Takeru showed no fear and believed it was because he had already seen a far more powerful monster. While observing the monster's body, all Takeru could think of was that it looked like flying food. Casting the spell Ice Needle, Takeru was able to take out the Rock Falcon with ease and successfully obtained food. Turning around, Takeru then saw a pack of serpent wolves headed his way. As one wolf was about to pounce on him, Takeru immediately cast multiple spells and dodged the wolf's attack. Taking the opportunity to counterattack, Takeru kicked the wolf right in its face. One by one, the serpent wolves were defeated by Takeru. Amazed by his physique, Takeru was surprised to see the wolf still coming at him even after seeing its friends get beaten. After dealing with the monsters that came after him, Takeru placed all the materials he gathered from them into the item box. Although he was happy to be gaining more raw materials, Takeru couldn't help but feel exhausted at the thought of continuously fighting until he could leave the white tree forest. Black Nobi grabbed hold of Takeru's robe, trying to fly him out of the forest. Amazed by Black Nobi's strength, Takeru decided to use the spell Reduction. With the help of Takeru's spell, Black Nobi was able to fly both of them much faster. However, since Black Nobi was closing his eyes, they ended up flying much higher than needed. After getting out of the white tree forest, Takeru felt exhausted and was curious about where they were now. Seeing that the forest and road were just behind him, Takeru realized that he was currently where he had camped the previous day. Takeru thanked Black Nobi for saving him, but then told Black Nobi that he was just a human and not an ancient dragon like Black Nobi, who could happily soar through the sky. If they ever flew again in the future, Takeru was sure that he would be ready by then, but for the time being he asked if Black Nobi could go easy on him. Black Nobi agreed and was happy to know that they could fly together again in the future. Since Takeru had been in dark places for the past few days, he felt happy after walking under the bright sky again. Takeru was also not worried, as he could take a break from collecting raw materials and go back to Tormi. Black Nobi pointed out the object that Takeru was holding. Takeru explained that it was just a normal branch and had no special use. However, to Takeru's surprise, Black Nobi suddenly let out a breath onto the branch. Unable to tolerate the smell of the young dragon, Takeru covered his face. He was then shocked to see that his branch had turned into a cane. Takeru asked Black Nobi what he had done, but when Black Nobi responded, Takeru was left speechless, as he could not understand Black Nobi at all. What had happened was that the branch, which had been dormant, was surprised by Black Nobi's stinky breath and woke up. However, Takeru still did not understand why the branch woke up as a cane. Though Takeru may look like a mage with a mysterious cane, his problem was that he did not know how to use it. Takeru noticed Black Nobi's behavior when it suddenly hid behind him. Takeru asked the young dragon if it could sense something wrong coming from the direction they were looking at. Takeru was very impressed with Black Nobi, as it had seen an incoming carriage approaching their direction when it was still very far away. Believing that it would be just a normal carriage, Takeru did not expect the horse to be a unicorn. Takeru then spoke with the man who was driving the carriage. Upon learning that Takeru was headed to Tomi, the man offered him a ride. Takeru was hesitant to accept at first as he believed that he might be too big to fit inside. Hearing the kids laugh and call him funny, Takeru could only scratch his head and wonder what funny thing he had said. The man reassured Takeru that the carriage would not have a problem with his size and encouraged him to get inside. After thanking the man for the offer, Takeru realized that it was his first time riding in a carriage, which made him wonder how it would feel. Seeing the kids inside, Takeru was impressed that they were already undertaking dangerous journeys at such a young age. As Takeru apologized for taking up space inside, the woman reassured him that it was no problem, as they had decided to help other people. Though their actions are very noble, Takeru asks what would happen if they helped a bandit or a robber. The woman again reassured Takeru that they would be just fine, as they have a magic item that can warn them if someone who poses a danger to them comes close. Observing the item more closely, Takeru sees that it is a handbell with a magic stone inside. The stone has the ability to detect killing intent. Takeru apologizes for not introducing himself right away and informs everyone that he is a wanderer. The woman appreciates Takeru's polite gesture, and in response she introduces herself as Eliza, along with her children Kane and Yunnan, and her husband Balm. The family then hears a strange sound coming from Takeru and asks what it is. As the kids wonder if Takeru has brought an animal with him, they reassure Takeru that they are not scared and are very eager to see it. As Eliza tells the children not to cause a problem, Takeru informs everyone that he does not mind if they see what is behind him or play with it, just pointing out that it is a very rare animal. Takeru then learns from Eliza that it is normal for an adventurer to have a monster with them, and he even hears that some monsters can be docile if they are well taken care of. Takeru thinks that Eliza is talking about monster trainers, which then leads him to believe that having a monster companion is not really rare. Before meeting everyone in the carriage, Takeru reminds Black Nobi to behave and not bite. Everyone is surprised upon seeing that it is a dragon cub. Since the monster is a dragon cub, Balm asks Takeru if he is a dragon knight. Takeru clarifies that he is not and that he only found it by coincidence. Both Balm and Eliza are surprised when Takeru mentions that he found the dragon when it was still an egg. Amazed by Takeru's story, Eliza explains to him that meeting a dragon knight is something truly rare, let alone meeting a dragon. When Takeru asks if he could meet a dragon knight if he goes to the main city, Eliza responds that he may be able to meet one, as she has heard that the king's bodyguards are dragon knights. Thinking about meeting a dragon knight, Takeru believes that he would greatly benefit from it, as he would be able to learn more about the nature of dragons. Seeing the kids playing with Black Nobi, Takeru is confident that there will be no problem since Black Nobi does not bite. Stopping for the night, Takeru then shows the family something that will protect them from approaching monsters. The family feels more reassured when Takeru mentions that Black Nobi would warn them if anything happens. As Takeru is about to prepare dinner, he offers to include everyone as a thank you for helping him. When Eliza mentions that Takeru looks like he does not have any utensils or ingredients with him, Takeru reveals that he is carrying an item box and shows everyone his utensils and ingredients. Amazed by Takeru's abilities, the family then decided to accept Takeru's offer. After Takeru finished cooking, everyone's mouths dropped open as they could not believe that he was able to prepare so many dishes in such a short time. After tasting Takeru's cooking, the family praised him wholeheartedly, finding the food very delicious. Seeing Balm in tears, Takeru asked him if the food was not to his liking. However, that was not the case, as Balm explained that the food was so delicious that it made him cry. Seeing Balm cry so much made the kids think that he was being silly and asked him to stop embarrassing himself. Takeru had never realized the feeling of nostalgia in seeing a family happily eating together. The feeling was not similar to when he ate alone, and he thought that eating with people you care about is more comfortable. As a form of their gratitude and a celebration of their meeting, Balm started playing his guitar, accompanied by Eliza's singing. In the happy mood, Black Nobi also began dancing joyfully, while Takeru joined in dancing with the kids. Takeru enjoyed the celebration so much that he could not remember the last time he laughed after being transported to the world of Medeus. The next day, the group continued their journey without any problems. Takeru was then taught by Balm how to control a carriage. Since Takeru did not know how tightly he should hold the reins, he simply ordered the unicorn to go slowly or to go faster, and the unicorn complied. Seeing how the unicorn would follow Takeru's orders, Balm was surprised, as he had never seen his unicorn act that way. Guarding the gate, Marlowe noticed Balm's carriage headed to the village. Upon seeing the carriage up close, Marlowe did not expect to see Takeru holding the reins. Balm then explained to Marlowe that he was teaching Takeru how to control the carriage and expressed his surprise at how well the unicorn understood Takeru. After thanking each other for their help, Balm informed Takeru that he would open his shop 3 buildings away from Jerome's shop, and that he was welcome to visit if he had the time. Since Balm was now in Tormy, Marlowe believed that spring was just around the corner. When Takeru asked Marlowe what Balm's job was, Marlowe shared that Balm spent the winter in the warm Woltoria castle and made a living by selling wool garments that he mass-produced. Balm always traveled on long journeys with his children. Since Balm couldn't hunt, his family could only eat a very limited amount of food. Balm also confided in Marlowe about how he felt bad for his children. After learning more about Balm, Takeru then realized why he had cried so much after eating the food he had cooked. Seeing Takeru lost in thought, Marlowe reminded him that he still needed to give his report for Jerome's request. Agreeing with Marlowe, Takeru then left to meet with Jerome. After handing out the item, Takeru felt worried since Jerome had been humming ever since he started checking it. Before visiting Jerome's shop, Takeru went to meet the children first. Seeing the kids having fun playing with Black Nobi, Takeru went ahead and placed all the raw materials he had collected on the counter, and apologized to Jerome since he could only bring in a small amount of mithril ore. Among the small pieces of ore that Takeru brought in, there was one mithril ore about the size of a marble on which Jerome had been focusing. Calling out to Takeru, Jerome mentioned that it was the first time he had seen such a type of ore and stated that it was not mithril ore. According to Jerome's appraisal, the small ore was a mithril magic ore. Jerome then asked Takeru how he had found the ore, as it was considered a legendary level object. Takeru was shocked, as he did not expect the small ore to have such a high grade. Upon learning that the small ore alone was already considered a legendary object, Takeru wondered how valuable the other ore he had, which was much bigger, could be. After listening to Jerome's explanation, Takeru could not believe that Vol had handed him something so outrageous, and moreover that he could get as much as he wanted with Vol's permission. Jerome gave Takeru high praise, noting that he had found not a normal mithril ore but a mithril magic ore, which was simply unbelievable. Takeru was shocked when Jerome told him that the marble-sized mithril magic ore contained the same amount of magical energy as all the magical stones in an entire country combined. Takeru only knew that the ore was an SS rank item, but he never imagined that it could equal all the magical stones in a country combined. Since Takeru was planning to go to other places, Jerome advised him to learn more. Jerome then suggested to Takeru that his next destination should be Belkium. Jerome tells Takeru that the city of Belkium is 10 times larger than the village of Tormy. Takeru will be able to gather information about the kingdom there, and he can also find guilds in the city. Jerome felt saddened that he would have to lose someone as good as Takeru, but he believes that once Takeru becomes famous, the whole village would also become well known. Takeru appreciates Jerome's thoughts. However, Takeru has no plans to become famous. He simply wants people to know that Tormy is a nice village to live in, although it still needs to address its biggest weakness, which is the lack of a bath. Takeru then decides to stay in Tormy for a few days before heading out to Belkium. Finally back in his own room, Takeru thinks about how it has been a while since he has slept in an enclosed space. Black Nobi, feeling down, doesn't have the energy to respond. It turns out that while Black Nobi was playing with the kids, he got too excited, accidentally smashed a flower vase with his tail, and ended up getting scolded. Black Nobi didn't initially understand why he was being scolded. After seeing Takeru apologize, the young dragon felt guilty and thought he was at fault. Takeru still can't believe that Jerome didn't take the marble-sized mithril magic ore and even warned him to be cautious of people who might desire it. Though Jerome didn't take the ore, he did buy all the other materials that Takeru brought. At that moment, Takeru realized he now had more than enough money to live comfortably for a while. Calculating his total earnings, Takeru finds he has gained more than 8 million yen. He feels strange after earning so much money in just a few days. Surprised that in a small village like Tormy, Jerome had an amount equivalent to 8 million yen, Takeru realizes that the real value of the items they are selling might actually be lower. Hearing a knock on his door, Takeru asks who it is. It's Ellie, who informs him that his dinner is ready in the dining room. Thanking Ellie, Takeru then tells Black Nobi that they will be having meat, instantly lifting Black Nobi's spirits. The two can't help but drool over the food prepared for them. Konfia tells Takeru that the meat they brought is very good and encourages him to enjoy it while it's hot. Unable to resist the juicy and delicious meat, Takeru also finds it to be excellent and expects no less from Konfia's husband. Seeing Takeru enjoying his meal, Konfia approaches him and shares advice on preparing the meat to get an even better taste. After savoring so many delicious meals, Takeru can't help but crave rice. When he asks Konfia if they happen to have rice, he feels disappointed to learn that she has never heard of it. Takeru wonders if the name might be different, but even after explaining how it's cooked, Konfia is still unfamiliar with it. She tries to comfort Takeru by saying that while they may not have rice in their small village, he might be able to find it in a larger city. With his hopes high, Takeru vowed he would definitely find his rice. Back in his room, Takeru thought about what Jerome told him and realized that selling the mithril magic ore might be too risky. Reading about the mithril magic ore, Takeru learned that it is used to create magic swords. Although it's a bit different, Takeru could see a resemblance between the ore and the magic stone used in the item that Balm's family owns. Takeru then came up with the idea of making a divine-level magic sword, one powerful enough to protect the village of Tormi. Since everything he needed was written in the book, Takeru believed he could now create the sword, as he was able to use magic. However, with no clear idea of how to infuse objects with magic, the only guidance Takeru had was the book Jerome had given him. Thinking of combining the ore with another tool, he began testing some ideas, imagining a barrier and alarm while combining a lamp with the mithril magic ore. After experimenting with several spell chants, Takeru exhausted himself. Pondering other ways to fuse the ore with an object, he recalled giving his energy to Vol's egg, which had absorbed his entire body. Drawing on that experience, Takeru touched the lamp and focused on the image in his mind. Chanting the spell Bias, he was shocked when electricity appeared from his hand, and the room suddenly went dark. Curious about what had happened to the lamp, he cast a light spell and was astonished to see a different kind of lamp. Although it looked different than he had imagined, it was still recognizable as a lamp. Noticing the ore on the back of the lamp's lid, Takeru guessed the synthesis had been successful. Using his scan ability, Takeru checked the lamp's details and realized it was much better than he expected. The magic ore lamp could protect anyone within its range. Feeling satisfied that his thank you gift was ready, Takeru decided to relax and sleep until his departure from Tormi. Over the next few days, he learned a lot from the villagers. When the day came for him to leave, Takeru packed his belongings and checked his inventory to make sure he had enough for his journey. As he left Gallop's Inn, he was surprised to find the entire village waiting at the gate to send him off. Marlowe told Takeru that they had all come to see him off, and not only the kids but also Jerome shed tears, asking Takeru to promise he would visit Tormi again. Takeru then handed Marlowe a gift, explaining it was a magic item he made himself. Marlowe was surprised, not expecting Takeru to have made such an item. Takeru explained that it would protect the village from anyone with bad intentions or who wished to bring harm. With its absolute barrier, Takeru assured everyone that the village would be safe. After explaining the lamp's alarm function, Balm was impressed, realizing Takeru had used their item as a reference. Takeru told everyone that he had made the magic lamp with the purpose of protecting the village so that he could one day return. The whole village laughed as Takeru admitted to himself he had said something embarrassing. As Jerome inspected the lamp, he noticed the mithril magic ore fused within it. As Jerome was about to ask for an explanation, Takeru quickly said his goodbyes and left the village. Jerome sighed, recognizing that Takeru had left behind an item with the magic power equivalent to an entire city. Though Jerome was grateful for Takeru's gift, he remained worried, knowing Takeru possessed a tremendous power that he himself hadn't fully realized. Jerome hoped Takeru would avoid trouble on his journey. After leaving the Tormi village 3 days ago, Takeru estimated that he still had another 1.5 days until he arrived at Belkium City. Takeru happily skipped around during his journey and passed by plains, mountains, and forests. Seeing a rural site in front of him, Takeru believed that he would be seeing at least a small village during his journey. Out of nowhere, a big crab appeared in the middle of the road. The monster's presence confused Takeru, since there were no rivers or sea nearby. Noticing the monster's angry expression, Takeru was still not afraid, believing that the crab's movement would be slow. To Takeru's surprise, the crab started charging at his location. Finding the situation very weird, Takeru still did not show any fear, and used his cane to blow the crab away. After defeating the crab with only one hit, Takeru was very impressed by the cane's toughness, and realized that he could also use it as a weapon. Takeru then asked Black Nobi to stay behind as he would check the crab first to see if it had actually died. Using his scan on the crab, Takeru learned that it was a C-ranked monster. Takeru felt sad as he did not expect that the people of Medeus would not eat crabs. Though the monster looked rather grotesque, Takeru was more focused on how it looked like a crab, and could only think about how delicious it would be if they made sashimi from it. Reading more of the monster's details, Takeru learned that the monster lived in a group, but was curious why it was all alone. Hearing Black Nobi's voice, Takeru turned around, wondering what the young dragon had found. Takeru was surprised to see another crab monster already so close to him. Using his cane, Takeru protected himself from the crab's claw. Surprised at how strong the crab was, Takeru was still glad that the cane could withstand and stop the crab's attack. However, Takeru was now stuck and could not move. Worried about Takeru, Black Nobi released a powerful wave that shocked the crab, which ended up passing out. Seeing how the crab started frothing and then falling unconscious, Takeru asked Black Nobi if it was his doing. Takeru assessed that it was Black Nobi's doing but was confused since he was not hearing a sound. Since Takeru did not hear a sound coming from Black Nobi, he guessed that Black Nobi had used an ultrasonic sound. Takeru then asked Black Nobi to stop and thanked him for saving him. Relieved and happy that Takeru was safe, Black Nobi immediately went to him and started licking him, which Takeru did not like since he found Black Nobi's breath and saliva stinky. Making sure that the crab monsters were dead, both Takeru and Black Nobi prayed first before using the spell Thunderbolt to cook the crabs to death. Seeing how well it was cooked, Takeru suddenly felt nostalgic after smelling the familiar scent of cooked crab. Seeing the young dragon salivate, Takeru told Black Nobi that there was no need to hurry, as he would also let Black Nobi eat it soon. Takeru then reinforced his hands with magic, broke the crab's claw and removed it. Takeru and Black Nobi's eyes glowed after seeing the crab's meat. Takeru advised Black Nobi to also hold back since there was just too much crab meat. Since they had so much crab meat, Takeru decided to prepare something to store the rest. Takeru managed to set aside at least 10 packs of the crab meat. He used a big dendora leaf to pack the meat, which he learned from Konfia. Takeru heard that the leaves were a basic item for travelers during their long journeys. The two then tested the crab meat after setting aside the packed meat. Takeru and Black Nobi found the crab meat very delicious. Takeru was very curious as to why the people of Medeus did not eat the crab monster despite it being so delicious, believing that it was such a waste. Takeru believed that the crab meat was too delicious for them to keep a secret, as he wanted to enjoy good food together with other people. Wondering how he could introduce the crab meat to everyone, Takeru first thought of opening a crab eatery and started spreading the news from there. Takeru then realized that the idea was weird, as he had not been reincarnated in Medeus just to start selling crab meat. After hearing Black Nobi's voice, Takeru explained why he had suddenly become silent, vowing to seek good foods moving forward. Takeru reassured the young dragon that he would not plan to just feed him tasteless magic water. Black Nobi's eyes glowed when Takeru told him that since they were partners on the journey, he would also receive all the delicious foods that Takeru was eating. Overjoyed, Black Nobi licked and rubbed himself on Takeru again. While standing in line, Takeru decided to scan the crest that was placed on the wall. The scan showed information about the merchant city of Belkium. After reading the details about the city, Takeru became intrigued by the city's snow festival. Takeru was worried at first about the line at the gate, but upon passing through, he realized that it was just a gate check before entering the country. Since the city is situated between the lake and the forest, Takeru assessed that Belkium is very open to monster attacks both from the lake and from the forest. Feeling a tingling sensation on his nape, Takeru believed it was a sign that magic energy was flowing from somewhere. However, Takeru also had a bad feeling when he felt a tingling sensation on his nape, which worried him. Seeing a faint flow of magic energy along the wall, Takeru guessed that it was some sort of barrier erected using a magic item. Takeru was surprised when the guards announced to prepare their belongings as they would check the contents of their bags. When it was finally Takeru's turn to have his bag inspected, the guards did not notice any problem, which made Takeru feel relieved to know that his illusion magic worked. He was glad he had decided to turn his item box into a normal bag. Based on Takeru's appearance, the guard assumed that Takeru was a wanderer, and was surprised at how huge Takeru was. When Takeru mentioned that he collected materials and sold them, the guard immediately assumed that Takeru was a material collector specialist. Takeru then shared his wish with the guard about becoming an adventurer, and explained that he had come to Belkium to register himself. Not expecting Takeru to be so polite, the guard asked for his name. Upon learning Takeru's name, the guard then asked where he came from. To the guard's surprise, he did not expect that Takeru had come from Tormi village, since the distance from Tormi to Belkium would take at least a month's journey. Takeru remained quiet and did not want to reveal that the journey had only taken him 10 days of happily skipping around. The guard then mentioned that it was his job to appraise everyone who visited the city of Belkium. The guard then instructed Takeru to stand still, as the appraisal would not take long. Curious about the tool, Takeru learned that one of the tool's functions was basic appraisal magic. The tool displayed the name, birthplace, rank, and other details of a person. Thinking that the appraisal tool was very similar to an X-ray used at the airport, Takeru then realized that he had never tried checking his own status before and decided to see what the tool said about him. After seeing his own status, Takeru thought that it looked unimpressive, even though he was not using any illusion magic. Takeru was still relieved to learn that his cheat skill did not show. Upon discovering that Takeru was a gift holder, the guard found something strange, as the tool showed that Takeru had the blessing of the dragon, which made the guard ask if Takeru was a dragon knight. Takeru clears the misunderstanding and believes that the cause of the tool's malfunction was Black Nobi, who is hiding underneath his robe. Seeing the guard's surprised reaction, Takeru then explained how he found Black Nobi and helped it hatch. The guards then noticed that the young dragon looked scared and guessed that they had startled it. Takeru reassures them that as long as they do not show any enmity, Black Nobi would not bite. The guard told Takeru that he doesn't mind letting a dragon in, but Takeru first needs a mark that shows the dragon cub is already taken. The guard then further explained the mark, giving an example like tying a piece of cloth on the dragon's arm or neck. Takeru believes that he has an item the children gave him, which he believes would be suitable as a mark for Black Nobi. After letting Black Nobi decide which item they can use as a mark, Black Nobi then decided to use the wooden bracelet. Realizing that the bracelet does not fit on Black Nobi's arm, Takeru decided to just put it on the tail. Seeing Black Nobi fly around, the guard momentarily fell for Black Nobi's cuteness. Raiden then informs Takeru that he would be making an exception for him, since normally Takeru would have to give the dragon to the proper institution first. Seeing how the young dragon is so attached to Takeru, Raiden feels bad about separating them. Takeru reassures Raiden that he would keep an eye on his dragon so that it would not go around the city causing trouble. Raiden informs Takeru that he would still need to make a report about Takeru and his dragon to the city's mayor, and the mayor may also later report the matter to the landmaster. Raiden tells Takeru that there is a possibility of him getting summoned, but still reassures him that he will be fine once he gets registered at the guild. Takeru was relieved to have met such nice officers who guard the gates of Belkium. Before Takeru left, both guards asked a favor of him as they wanted to pat Black Nobi just a little bit. After going through the gate check, Takeru was now standing in front of a door that would lead him to a big city in the world of Medeus. Stepping outside, Takeru was surprised to see the diversity in the streets, as he could see multiple races coexisting. Compared to the peaceful Tormi village, the liveliness and scale are so different. After having someone approach him, Takeru remembered how he once thought that the people sounded like they were from a small village. With so many people in one place, Takeru was worried that he might get swallowed up if he is not careful. Takeru has decided to step off the big road for now and look for the guild. Following Raiden's instructions, Takeru was able to locate a building for the guild. Not wanting to stand out, Takeru warns Black Nobi to be docile inside. Takeru had always thought that an adventurer guild is a place filled with tough, hot-headed people. Opening the doors, Takeru hoped that he would not get involved with odd people. After entering the guild, Takeru did not expect the place to be so beautiful. Observing the whole lobby, Takeru wonders where he should go first. Takeru was then approached by a girl with bunny ears, who asked him if he had any business with Europe. After being told by Takeru that he wanted to register as an adventurer, the girl thanked Takeru and told him that they always welcome new adventurers. After sitting at an open table, the girl informed Takeru that she would ask a few questions first before handling the application. When the girl asked Takeru if he knew about adventurers, Takeru showed the book that Jerem had given him, and responded that he knew about adventurers only through what was written in the book. Seeing the book, the girl was very happy as she would not have to make the interview long. The girl then asked Takeru to fill out the application and advised him to write using the Karfe language. Not sure what the Karfe language was, Takeru was not too worried since he had been given the ability to understand any language by God. Takeru was amazed after witnessing the characters change instantly. After receiving the application, the girl was surprised and assumed that Takeru was a material collector specialist. The girl then informed Takeru that he had come at the right time, as they were always in need of material collectors. Takeru felt the pressure upon realizing how valuable his job had become. After being asked by the girl if he had any experience in battle, Takeru responded yes and shared how he had defeated a big bird, some wolves with a snake tail, and his favorite crabs. The girl looked very puzzled after Takeru mentioned the monsters and asked if he could show her some proof, as she found it hard to believe. Takeru was worried and informed the girl that the desk might break if he showed the evidence. The girl shrieked after Takeru pulled out the corpse of the monster crab. Everyone in the lobby was startled after hearing someone scream. Everyone then learned that it was Ariana who had screamed and asked her what had happened. The people in the guild immediately recognized the crab as a Mont Blanc crab, and asked Takeru if he was the one who had defeated it. Takeru agreed, adding that the crab might look creepy, but he believed that the monster was not gross enough for them to be disgusted. Although Ariana still found the monster disgusting, she acknowledged that the defeat was very impressive. Takeru was then approached by another guild staff member and asked if he was an item box holder. After showing a sack, the staff immediately believed it was the item box and asked Takeru how he had acquired it. Not wanting to divulge more information, Takeru simply responded that he had received it. Seeing that Takeru was not lying, Ariana was then informed that Takeru was green. To show some proof next time, Takeru was advised that he could have just shown a part of the monster instead of bringing everything out. Recalling that he had been called green, Takeru asked what it meant. The staff explained that the color green meant that the person was not a problem. The staff also shared how it had been a while since they last saw the innocent green. Other than green, there were other colors such as yellow, which signified problematic people, or red for those who were short-tempered and hot-headed. Takeru was then asked by the staff if he was not upset with them for appraising him without his knowledge. Takeru showed no resentment and even shared that he had also been appraised near the gate. After confirming that Takeru was indeed green, he was then asked what he wanted to do with the crab's corpse, and was pointed out that the shell of the crab is the only part that can be sold. All of the staff of the guild were surprised when Takeru mentioned that the crab meat is also edible. Takeru tried to offer the packed crab meat, but everyone refused to take it. After asking Takeru what he would do with the crab's shell, the staff also informed Takeru that he could get a lot of money from the shell alone. Since Takeru did not need anything except the meat, he agreed to just sell the shell. When the staff ordered Ariana to buy the crab's shell, Ariana reported to her senior, whose name was Wade, that Takeru had just become an adventurer and asked if he had any battle experience. Surprised that Takeru had just become an adventurer, Wade guessed that Takeru was a skilled adventurer as he was able to defeat a Mont Blanc crab. As the staff spoke very highly of Takeru, the other adventurers heard of it and started whispering something to each other. After seeing the proof of the crab, Ariana then believed that Takeru had also defeated the other monsters he had mentioned before. Showing more proof, Takeru pulled out the corpses of the other monsters. Seeing the wolves' corpses, Wade was then convinced that Takeru was truly a skilled adventurer, and asked him if he had hunted the monster in a group. Takeru responded that he had only hunted by himself together with Black Nobi. When Takeru revealed that Black Nobi was a dragon cub, everyone was shocked. Wade then asked Takeru if he was a dragon knight. After clarifying to Wade that he was not a dragon knight, the other adventurers then approached Takeru and tried to invite him to their party. Wade then intervened and the adventurer told them that he was still speaking with Takeru. Ariana then told Takeru that they would be processing the last step for his registration, and then guided Takeru to the next room. After stamping the application, Ariana informed Takeru that he would start as an F rank to follow the guild's rule. Ariana then explained to Takeru how he could change his rank and even shared that he could skip some ranks if he could prove that he was really a skilled adventurer. Takeru did not really mind that he was placed at the lowest rank, since all he really wanted to do was to live in Belkium and learn more about the world. As a replacement for Takeru's identification documents, Ariana handed Takeru a bracelet. Ariana explained that it was the guild ring, which contained the owner's name, job, rank, and the number of quests that were completed. Ariana then asked Takeru again to put his hand on the appraisal crystal and to pour his magic energy into it. Applying heat onto the crystal, Ariana was surprised, as she did not expect the crystal to shatter. Stepping out of the guild, Takeru was very happy, as he was now part of the guild. Takeru's next agenda was to look for an inn that was next to the bathhouse. Although Takeru's appearance had changed, he still had the heart of a Japanese person, which meant that taking a bath was very necessary for his daily life. Using only his cleanse spell and wiping his body to clean himself, Takeru now wanted to take a nice long dip in a bath. While mumbling to himself, Takeru found himself in an inn area for some reason. Based on the Belkium guide map that Takeru received from the guild, there are different inns recommended for different adventurer ranks. Unfortunately for Takeru, the worst kinds of inns are recommended for F ranks. After seeing the Wily Inn, Takeru did not like how the place looked worn out. Not asking for something luxurious, Takeru only wished for an inn that was spacious and had the same cleanliness as the inn in Tormi Village. Takeru decided to ignore the recommended inns for F ranks and looked for a middle-class inn. Arriving at the Kaiju Inn, Takeru thought that it looked pretty good. Takeru was then approached by a woman with antlers who asked if he was planning to stay at the Kaiju Inn. When Takeru responded that he planned to stay at the Kaiju Inn for a while, the woman then guided Takeru inside. Takeru was amazed at how spacious the inn was on the inside. Recognizing that he could also understand the woman's dialect, Takeru guessed that it was also part of the gift of language that he had been given. The woman asked Takeru what room he preferred at first, but after seeing how tall he was, the woman suggested that Takeru take a large room. Takeru did not mind having a small room as long as he had a big bed. Following Takeru's request, the woman then informed Takeru of an empty room where he could stay. When Takeru asked how much the room was for a night, he was surprised when the woman mentioned that it was 1,500 lib, 3 times more expensive than the inn in Tormi village. Although Takeru was hesitant, he decided to stay at the Kaiju Inn. In order for Takeru to register at the inn, he gave his guild ring for identification. The woman did not expect Takeru to be an adventurer, as he spoke so politely, giving off the impression that he was from a government office. After registering at the inn, the woman asked Takeru if he was okay with paying up front. The woman was surprised when Takeru told her that he would be staying for a month. Curious as to why the woman was panicking, Takeru saw that the woman was summing up his total bill for the whole month. Helping the woman out, Takeru told her that his total bill would be 45,000 lib, and that he would pay with silver and copper coins. The woman was impressed with Takeru's fast calculations and shared how she had always been bad at math since she was a little girl. While listening to the woman, Takeru remembered that the manual never said anything about education, and he guessed that there was no system where people went to school. The woman then informed Takeru that he could get his breakfast and dinner at the restaurant further in. People who stayed at the inn received a discount, and she suggested that they visit the restaurant to avail themselves of the discounted meals. After handing Takeru his key, the woman also advised him to give the key to the receptionist for safekeeping if Takeru planned to go out. Entering his room, Takeru was surprised at how good the room looked, and expected no less from an inn that cost 1,500 lib a night. After checking out the whole room, Takeru assessed it as a first-class inn. In order to maintain their stay at the inn, Takeru shared with Black Nobi his plans for making money to live comfortably. Black Nobi nodded when Takeru asked him if he wanted to eat quality food. Full of energy, Takeru then planned to earn at least 2,000 lib per day. However, Takeru then faced another problem. Most of the quests that Takeru could take on were F rank, which were just errands. Most of the quests could be done inside Belkium, and the reward was very little. Among the quest posters that Takeru brought, there were some irregularities, and those were the material collecting quests. One had to go outside of Belkium and gather healing herbs and mountain vegetables. Although the quest was intended for low ranks, adventurers could still earn a lot from material collecting quests. After giving Black Nobi some magic water, Takeru thought about how he would go crazy if he only lived off the magic water. Having decided to live in an expensive place, Takeru resolved to tolerate what he could and stay firm on what he couldn't compromise. Takeru then began to think that planning to live solely off guild quests was a mistake. To reduce his expenses, Takeru decided to hunt his own food. Remembering how he had made so much money with one quest from Jerome, Takeru decided to do the same thing in Belkium, gathering materials and selling them on his own. After thinking carefully about his plans, Takeru ended up passing out when Black Nobi dove right into his chest out of excitement. Later that day, Takeru followed the map to a bathhouse that the innkeeper had given him. Arriving at the bathhouse Abukumaru, Takeru wondered if the bathhouse looked the same as the public baths in Japan. Entering the bathhouse, Takeru was surprised when he saw a tiger. The tiger then told Takeru that it would cost him 500 lib per person, and if Black Nobi were to also take a bath, then it would cost Takeru 700 lib. After paying for the bath, Takeru then received instructions on where to head for the changing room. Takeru thought that the changing room looked old but still added to the mood, which he found very nice. After removing his clothes and covering himself with a towel, Takeru and Black Nobi happily skipped toward the bath. Takeru was shocked when he saw the water looking all muddy. Seeing Takeru depressed, Black Nobi started worrying about him. Takeru then thought of an idea and used his cleanse spell to remove the mud from the water. Noticing that the bath was shining brightly, the tiger became worried for Takeru and immediately ran toward the bath. Seeing both Takeru and Black Nobi in the clean bath, the tiger was puzzled as to what had happened. Realizing that his bath now looked much better, the tiger shed a tear and gave Takeru a thumbs up. The tiger then shared how troubled he had been since the adventurers always made the place dirty. The tiger then made a proposition to Takeru. In exchange for cleaning the bathtub, he could always visit the bathhouse free of charge and even hoped that Takeru would visit every day. Living in Belkium for 15 days, Takeru was living his life as a beginner adventurer. Takeru was having the materials he gathered for the guild appraised by Grit, a foxkin. Takeru felt honored when Grit told him that the requester was grateful towards Takeru, as the materials they had been receiving from the quest so far were mediocre, up until Takeru took over. When Grit told Takeru that they had 12 requests for him, Takeru immediately declined, which Grit also understood. Takeru takes about 2 to 3 quests per day and completes them within 3 days. Takeru only takes on quests he has completed before, which he admits makes for a laid-back life. Based on the agreement for the quest, Takeru should have received a total of 10 bronze coins, but since he brought in high-quality materials, the value was multiplied and became 4 silver coins. The reason why Takeru can get good quests at the moment is all because of Grit, who helps him by giving him specially designated quests with a high reward. After selecting his next quest, Takeru almost forgot to give Grit something. After searching for the Nebarari flowers for some time, Grit was shocked to see that Takeru had many of them. Knowing that Grit's wife's birthday was coming up, Takeru thought of helping Grit out by giving him a few vibrant flower bouquets. Grit was hesitant to accept the flowers at first, but was shocked when Takeru told him that the flowers were for free. Knowing that the flowers were very expensive, yet he was receiving them for free, Grit cried as he was overwhelmed by Takeru's kindness. The Nebarari flower is a big flower popular among the royal family and the nobles. A single flower costs 2 silver coins at a florist. The flower is expensive and can be used to express one's appreciation by giving it. Rather than giving the flower without a purpose, Takeru also planned to ask for a little something in return. Takeru reminded himself that he and Grit were on the same footing. With his action, Takeru successfully strengthened his bond with Grit, which would then portray him as a good person and lead to him receiving more stock. Takeru was sure that inside the guild, the staff were starting to become curious about how he could pinpoint high-quality materials. Putting up a fake persona, Takeru knew that he would encounter trouble if he were to be discovered. With his trademark of being a nice and diligent person, Takeru was sure that no one would even dare to force questions on him. For Takeru, it was also important to pay attention to all the daily happenings. When Takeru had the time, he would go to the library in the government district. At the library, Takeru learned about the basics of the world and the things he wanted to know. Among the books, there was one that explained the difference between skill and gift. A skill is something that one gets from experience and sense. Skill is also related to the compatibility one is born with. In the end, it is up to the person whether their power will bloom or not. Based on what Takeru read, a gift is described as a sudden abnormality. A gift is something that a person is born with, and it blooms very quickly, forcefully manifesting when the time comes. Takeru also learned that there are gifts capable of cursing others to death or even brainwashing them. There are many kinds of terrifying powers that can be used for war. The powers that Takeru possesses are all gifts, not skills. Although Takeru was not born with gifts, they are similar to the gifts of other people. An example of how dangerous gifts can be is Takeru's search spell, which allows him to scan whatever, whomever, and wherever he wishes. While searching for a book about a similar case to his own, Takeru found one titled Famous Gifts in the World ****. After reading it, Takeru realized he is the only person who came from another world. The book stated that no matter how much magic power a person has, it is impossible to activate multiple gifts simultaneously. Takeru wondered if the book's contents were true, as he once used multiple gifts at the same time when fighting off wolves. Seeing that Black Nobi was getting tired of the library and that it was getting dark, Takeru decided to head to the bathhouse afterward. For the time being, it was enough for Takeru to live a normal life by going to work, earning money, eating, and sleeping every day. Arriving at the bathhouse, both Takeru and Black Nobi were welcomed by Tiger, who mentioned that the other customers were very happy to see the bathhouse all cleaned up. All Takeru did was clean the bathhouse so he could enjoy bathing himself, but the owner, a tiger beastkin named Limely, was surprised and grateful for Takeru's efforts. In exchange for cleaning the bath, Takeru could bathe for free, saving him 700 lib. Upon entering the bath, Takeru was greeted by other customers who expressed sincere gratitude for his care of the bath. After taking a dip in the warm water, Takeru immediately felt relaxed. Seeing Black Nobi looking content, Takeru did not expect that even a dragon would enjoy a bath. Takeru had been worried initially, but after working hard for the past 15 days, he felt that things were starting to improve. Earning a stable income, Takeru believed it was enough for him to stay at the Kaiju Inn and live his daily life with some surplus. Then Takeru heard his name being called and realized it was the lizard man, Craystone. After greeting each other, Craystone shared what happened with his quest after Takeru asked. Craystone commented on how terrible their scout had been, as they had almost fallen prey to a cordal cactus. Another problem Craystone faced was that their paladin, who should have been standing at the front line, was so scared of a Giragaya. Takeru's impression of Craystone is that he is an upright person, much like the warriors from the warring period. Takeru does not know much about Craystone, except that he is an adventurer. Takeru sensed a different air around Craystone as he sometimes saw other adventurers saluting him. From what Takeru has observed, Craystone is a skilled and high-ranking adventurer, as Craystone was teasing Takeru about his abilities and making more money from them. He remembered that it was about time for Takeru to receive a rank up and advised him to take it. Takeru was very hesitant, as it had only been a month since he became an adventurer. Craystone was unable to persuade Takeru and advised him to be careful, since an unambitious person would stand out even more. Although Takeru just wanted to live quietly, he faced the dilemma of how living a quiet, unambitious life could put him in a dangerous situation. For someone like Takeru, who had already secured a stable income after only half a month, he had become an eyesore to others at the guild. Takeru had also been frequently called into alleys and surrounded by other adventurers. Unfortunately for those adventurers, they ended up getting beaten up after surrounding Takeru. When Takeru met with Grit, he once again received praise, as Grit now understood why the apothecaries in Belkium had been putting in requests specifically for Takeru. After Takeru told Grit that he does not take requests from bad people, Grit believed that this quality was the reason clients trusted Takeru, creating an impression that whatever Takeru delivered was always genuine and of high quality. Once again, Takeru received an increased reward for bringing in high-quality materials. Based on the amount he received, Takeru believed that the client would continue to entrust him with more quests. Grit brought up the topic of ranking up with Takeru as it had been asked time and again. However, Takeru gave the same answer, telling Grit that he refused to rank up. Takeru had no interest in ranking up, as he was satisfied with his current situation and had no desire to be famous. Takeru did feel bad for Grit, but once he achieved a stable life and was content living in Belkium, he planned to move to another city. Since Takeru already stood out despite being at the lowest rank, he found it troublesome that people might resent him for leaving, as they relied on him as if he were a high-ranking adventurer. Although Takeru wanted to live a peaceful life, that goal was momentarily derailed when news arrived that goblins were attacking and everyone with skills was being gathered. Goblins are known as mischievous creatures that like to live in dark caves and other places out of the reach of sunshine. Goblins are also frequently seen in fantasy novels and movies. In the world of Medeus, goblins exist. The goblins in Medeus are dim-witted and cannot speak the common language. Goblins will target and hunt anything that moves. These creatures kill the men and capture the women, then use them. Such acts are the way the goblins live. Goblins tend to form groups in large numbers and target human villages to raid in pursuit of food. The goblins' most fundamental form of attack is raiding and invading. Therefore, there is no definitive solution to the goblin issue. The guildmaster, Rodor, instructed the others to inform all adventurers who are D rank and above about the situation. With their meeting place set at the northern storehouse in Savro Plains, Rodor then announced that anyone with a skill should be gathered to one side and brought along. Rodor was then informed that Brow and Monahan were on their way to Oblast, which meant they would be lacking help from A-rankers. Rodor was then relieved to learn that a couple of B-rankers were close, including the Honorable Dragon King. Seeing that things were starting to get hectic, Takeru thought that an F-rank adventurer like him had no business with the matter, and decided to continue with his plan of shopping at the bazaar. Grit then stopped Takeru and pleaded with him to join them. Inside the guild lecture hall, Rodor and the adventurers discussed the problem and whether they would be receiving any reinforcements at all. Other adventurers started to argue after mentioning that the Dragon Knights would not help the likes of them. The adventurers became even more determined to protect the village on their own. Rodor then asked everyone to hold off their excitement and listen to the strategy first. For their plan, Rodor instructed the vanguard to be stationed at the edge of the woodland in the south and west of Savro Plains. Since the goblins were headed straight for the fallen Kalba tree, Rodor informed the adventurers that it was their job to stop the goblins, and that they must prevent them from crossing the Zaluez River. With just one line from Rodor, the adventurers became more passionate. When a couple of adventurers noticed Takeru, he was immediately told not to get in over his head as he might just get in their way. Takeru was then approached by Rodor, who praised him after learning of his impressive achievements and abilities. After Takeru introduced himself to Rodor, he heard from Rodor that the judge would not stop praising Takeru, which Rodor found very rare since the judge did not speak highly of just anyone. Rodor also heard that Limely from the bathhouse respected Takeru. Seeing Takeru just smiling after everything he had said, Rodor suddenly laughed as he could not believe that Takeru still looked very carefree after being intimidated. The other adventurers were shocked when Rodor guessed that Takeru had some power behind his weak-looking appearance. Rodor then asked Takeru if he could help them with the goblin issue. After giving a little speech, Rodor gave instructions to the other adventurers before heading off. Still in shock, Takeru was then told by a guild staff member that their leader always did whatever he wanted, and then apologized for the inconvenience. After trying to encourage Takeru, the guild staff then introduced himself as Muzelli, and shared his ability to use a healing skill, though only a little bit. Muzelli saw the situation as an opportunity to show his prowess to the guild master. Arriving at their campsite, Muzelli was easily startled by a flying creature's screech. When Takeru asked Muzelli to let go of him, Muzelli informed Takeru that she was scared and was even surprised that Takeru was not afraid. Muzelli tried to encourage herself, but Takeru could tell that it was not working, as Muzelli was still shivering and even crying. Believing that it was his responsibility to make Muzelli face the reality of the situation, Takeru informed Muzelli that she was in no condition to help others, and pointed out that she couldn't even stop her hands and feet from shaking. Without even seeing the faces of their enemies, Takeru told Muzelli that her weakness was of no use on the battlefield. Since Muzelli's ability was healing, Takeru made it clear to her that she would not be on the front lines fighting the goblins. Muzelli would have to stay behind and heal the adventurers who were injured. After being told by Takeru that it was okay to be afraid, Muzelli responded that adventurers were all brave heroes who never fled from battle. As Takeru pointed out to Muzelli that she was not an adventurer, he then tried to comfort her by telling her that being afraid was something even veteran adventurers felt, though they were embarrassed to admit it. For the sake of protecting one's life and everyone else's, Muzelli should be supporting the adventurers who were risking their lives. After encouraging Muzelli, Takeru immediately turned around, hiding his face that was about to burst out in laughter from his corny speech. Takeru was now glad that he was able to stop Muzelli from shaking, and she now had a new shine in her eyes. As the place started to quiet down, Takeru was approached by Kraystone, who was laughing. Kraystone reassured Takeru that he was not laughing at the speech he gave to Muzelli. Kraystone then apologized and explained that whenever anyone began speaking passionately, they became somber. Takeru had no issues if people started to become afraid to fight, as long as they were not bothering him. Takeru assumed that Kraystone would be on the front lines the whole time. Kraystone explained that he had an old wound that still caused him trouble. The wound prevented Kraystone from using his full range of movement without pain. When Kray pointed to the scar across the center of his back, Takeru thought that it might not be the cause of Kraystone's discomfort. Takeru believed that Kraystone's problem was in his shoulder blade and wondered if it was some sort of nerve damage. After touching the protruding bone, Takeru told Kraystone that he saw the large wound across his back. Seeing Kraystone's eyes widen, Takeru thought he might have said too much. Kraystone asked Takeru if he was not going to mention how a wound on the back was a warrior's greatest shame. Kraystone was surprised when Takeru responded that the wound could have been the result of Kraystone protecting someone very important. Takeru pointed out to Kraystone that he might have lost the battle, but since he was still alive, that also meant he won and could still challenge strong opponents. Their conversation was suddenly interrupted by Takeru's stomach growling. Takeru noticed a sound from afar and wondered what it was. When Kraystone finally heard the sound as well, he immediately recognized it as the signal that meant the Master's blockade had been destroyed, and that sooner or later the troops would be at their location. Takeru was surprised after seeing so many goblins headed their way. Still hearing the sound of explosion magic from within the forest, the two believed that the vanguard might still be alive. Kraystone guessed that the goblins might have assaulted the front line with enough numbers to break through. Hearing their conversation, Muzelli once again started to panic. Grabbing his spear, Kraystone went out as he planned to face the incoming goblins. Takeru tried to stop Kraystone, but he was unable to reason with him. Hearing Muzelli call his name, Takeru reminded Muzelli to stay within her limits, healing any injured soldiers brought to their camp. Seeing how calm Takeru was, Muzelli assumed that he had a plan. Muzelli was even more shocked when Takeru told her that he had no secret plan at all. Seeing all the mouse girls turning pale and trembling, Takeru thought that he would also be like them if he were back on Earth. Takeru then thought that the reason he was so calm was because of the man who gave him the abilities, which included panic resistance. Having possessed the power ever since his first experience in Medeus, Takeru guessed that he had gotten used to it before even appreciating its presence. Takeru felt like he had an enormous source of magic within him telling him that it's no big deal. Remembering Rodor's words, Takeru thought those words were meant for someone who had the power to make a difference. However, Takeru was still wondering why Rodor had said them to him, as he was just an F-ranked adventurer who specialized in raw material analysis. After giving himself time to think, Takeru finally realized what he needed to do. In order to save his way of life, Takeru would have to defend who and what he cherished the most. Takeru then called upon Black Nobi, as they were about to head to the front lines. He then instructed Muzelli and the other mouse girls to stay inside their tents. To protect the frightened mouse girls, Takeru placed a barrier and magic shield around the camp. Surprised, Muzelli wondered what was going on. Takeru explained that he had built a protective shell around the tent, and that even ultimate attacks would not be strong enough to break the shield. After informing Muzelli that he would check on Kraystone at the front lines, Takeru instructed Muzelli to help any soldier who needed assistance, but reminded them never to leave the barrier. Applying quick and weight reduction to himself, Takeru was able to run so fast that he had already created some distance in just the blink of an eye. Passing through many carcasses, Takeru thought that the dead bodies must have been from people who had lost their way or been abandoned. When Takeru finally encountered the goblins, he could immediately feel their terrifying aura. To protect himself, Takeru cast Shield and Heart on both of his hands and feet. As a goblin was about to attack him, Takeru used his speed and power to punch the goblin first. With just one punch, the goblin was pushed across the field. Takeru did not expect that the goblin would be so soft, almost like a tomato. Even though Takeru was able to kill a goblin with just one punch, he noticed the other goblins' calmness, and that they were not even afraid of him. Seeing that Black Nobi was very eager to fight the goblins, Takeru became more excited to fight them. As the horde of goblins was about to approach Takeru and Black Nobi, Takeru instructed the young dragon to use its spirit technique to scatter the goblins. Using his power, Black Nobi not only struck all of the incoming goblins but also hit Takeru. Black Nobi was immediately scolded by Takeru, as his hair was caught on fire, making it all puffy. Not understanding that he was being scolded, Black Nobi just laughed at Takeru's hair. Takeru then reminded Black Nobi to take some distance before casting his technique. Takeru was still very impressed with Black Nobi's power, as all the goblins headed their way were scorched in an instant. Thinking about how the goblins died terribly, Takeru felt bothered, as he also felt the same way with the first goblin he killed. When Takeru had used Scan on Black Nobi before, he noticed the spirit technique. However, Takeru never imagined that the skill itself would be so powerful. Takeru then heard a cry for help from other adventurers. As a goblin was about to strike an adventurer with its club, they were fortunately saved by their comrades. However, instead of encouraging them, the two adventurers mocked the others for being afraid on the battlefield. Noticing a swarm of arrows headed their way, the two adventurers immediately raised their shields. Knowing that they would still receive some damage even with their shields raised, the two closed their eyes. They were puzzled when they saw the arrows now lying on the ground. Both the adventurers and the goblins were surprised to see a barrier. From behind, Takeru ordered Black Nobi to tear through the goblins with his wind spirit. With just one attack from Black Nobi, the goblins were easily wiped out. The two adventurers could not believe what they had just witnessed. When Takeru asked the two if they were all right, the two adventurers were surprised, as they did not expect to see Takeru at the front lines. Takeru then suggested that they coordinate their strengths and direct their focus first on the relief effort, as he still needed to gather as many wounded troops as possible and get them to the medic. The wolf adventurer Diego was shocked when Takeru told them that he had already taken care of the goblins that had escaped their defense. The adventurers whom Diego saved told him that it was better for them to support and protect the warriors who could make a difference. Diego realized that the adventurers were right, as he himself couldn't make any decisions without consulting the guildmaster. Diego then instructed the adventurers to head back to camp to protect and support the wounded warriors, while he, Takeru, and Oraldo would join up with Rodor to kill the rest of the goblins. On their way to Rodor's location, Oraldo pointed out that he had no intention of having his glory snatched by a baby dragon. While Takeru was thinking about wanting a bath after returning from battle, Diego and Oraldo told Takeru that they could see Rodor and another adventurer. The two then went ahead and told Takeru that they would leave the honor of fighting the goblins to him. Seeing that the other adventurer was none other than Kraystone, Takeru realized that he had never seen Kraystone fight before. Noticing how amazing Kraystone looked, as if his spear was a part of his body, Takeru also noticed that Kraystone was moving a bit strangely. Takeru guessed that the wound on Kraystone's back was causing him a lot of pain, so much so that even an untrained eye could tell that his movement was restricted. Takeru asked Black Nobi if he could use the electric attack without hitting Kraystone. Seeing some sparks on Black Nobi, Takeru reminded him to create some distance as he did not want to get hit again. Kraystone was surprised when he saw the goblins being killed by electricity. When Kraystone finally saw Takeru, he asked what he was doing on the front lines. Takeru slapped Kraystone's back, making it clear that his back was the cause of his strange movement. Confused by what Takeru was saying about his scar, Kraystone revealed that the scar was proof of his foolishness, which was nothing more than an annoyance to him. Planning to get rid of Kraystone's pain, Takeru pulled out a pot and placed enchanted water inside. After being splashed with water on his face, Kraystone was still confused about what Takeru was doing. Takeru then explained to Kraystone that he was healing his scar. After Takeru mentioned the word Ridifrius, Kraystone felt an immense power within him, healing his wound in the process. Takeru was shocked to see the change in Kraystone's body, as he had only expected the wound to heal. Seeing how huge Kraystone had become, Takeru thought he was looking at a completely different creature. When Takeru asked Kraystone if he still felt pain, Kraystone responded that instead of feeling pain, he felt as if he had become young again. Takeru was surprised when he saw another group of goblins approaching them. Annoyed by the goblins' never-ending appearance, Kraystone turned to them and told Takeru to leave the goblins to him. With just one breath, Kraystone took out the goblins' heads. Takeru witnessed the heads exploding and asked Kraystone what he had done. Kraystone informed Takeru that his body kept whispering to him to fight. After Kraystone went on a rampage, no one had enough power to stop him. In a matter of seconds, Kraystone amassed a mountain of corpses. Every adventurer around stopped and stared at how Kraystone massacred all of the goblins. Greystone brutally slaughtered the goblins, overcome with childlike joy. When Greystone finally stopped, both Diego and Araldo froze, amazed at the power displayed by the Honorable Dragon. The two adventurers then approached Greystone, praising him for how quickly he wiped out the goblins. Takeru, who was still shocked at what he had witnessed, had no clue that Greystone would go on such a rampage. Rodor then approached Takeru, asking if he was the one who drew the power out within Greystone. After Takeru revealed that he had only used a little healing magic, Rodor asked if he was not just some normal space filler. Diego and Araldo then approached Rodor, informing him that there were a lot of seriously injured soldiers, but they were able to save everyone. Rodor admitted that they would have had more casualties if it weren't for Greystone and Takeru, and suggested that the two should be shown appreciation. Diego looked confused as he never expected Takeru to be of great help. Araldo then believed that Rodor was referring to Takeru's dragon. The two then approached Black Nobi, praising his abilities and his cute looks. Takeru, on the other hand, was only glad that they had a happy ending. As the battle concluded, the town of Belkium survived the Goblin army's invasion without a scratch. The news spread around Belkium very quickly. People talked about how the battlefield had been ravaged by supernatural lightning and tornadoes. They also talked about the discovery of the existence of a demon king. Extravagant rumors began to spread about the goblins being systematically annihilated. The head of the guild gathered all of the guild's healers to work together. Because of how hard they fought, the crab feast that Takeru had after the battle was more satisfying. After 3 days, Greystone finally found Takeru and asked him to explain himself. Greystone wanted the full truth and asked Takeru what he did to him. When Takeru asked Greystone if it was bad of him to remove the scar, Greystone responded that now that the wound on his back was gone, he had finally returned to his full strength. Greystone did not want to lie and told Takeru that he felt he had become stronger than before. Takeru told Greystone that he only sprayed him with enchanted water, which completely healed the wound. Greystone was shocked when Takeru shared that his bag was linked to a spring within the cave where an ancient dragon lives. Seeing that Black Nobi was pure of spirit, Greystone believed that Takeru was not lying about the subterranean lake, and that Black Nobi was the child of an ancient dragon. As Takeru was about to share more, Greystone asked Takeru to stop for a second as what he was hearing was a bit too much. The underground lake full of enchanted water was deep enough to conceal Vol's giant body. It made Takeru think that the amount of water he splashed on Greystone wasn't so much. Accepting the fact that he was splashed by Takeru with rare and important water as a gift from an ancient dragon, Greystone asked Takeru why he felt it necessary to splash it on him. Greystone became angry when Takeru mentioned that splashing the water was just a gut feeling he followed. Explaining the enchanted water to Greystone, Takeru thought that if the water were to be absorbed by Greystone's skin, it would speed up the recovery of the scar. Seeing that Greystone was in tremendous pain, Takeru could not think of anything else as they were in the middle of a battle. Takeru pushed Greystone's body and magic limits far beyond what he was capable of. After revealing his secret to Greystone, Takeru asked Greystone to keep it. Greystone reassured Takeru that even if he shared the truth about the lost ancient secret art, no one would believe him. After imparting some knowledge about the lost ancient arts, Greystone asked Takeru why he was able to use such secret arts and ancient knowledge. Takeru froze as he was having a hard time explaining to Greystone his origins and how he could use the secret ancient arts. Realizing that Greystone had been calling out his name, Takeru apologized for getting distracted. Greystone decided to no longer pry about how Takeru possessed such power and how he could use it. As Greystone was about to leave, Takeru decided to reveal his secret to Greystone as he trusted him to keep it. Takeru then revealed to Greystone that he came from another world. Seeing Greystone's confused look, Takeru shares how it is very difficult to explain his origins. Takeru brought up the topic of reincarnation, which Greystone had a general knowledge of. Takeru shares how normal reincarnation would make someone completely different from what they were before. After Takeru revealed everything to Greystone as best as he could, Greystone still finds the story too ridiculous. Although Greystone is having a hard time believing the story, he still could not deny the fact that Takeru was able to heal his wounds and turn him into a true dragon. When Greystone mentioned that, despite being young, he still has the blood of the founder of the Dragon Clan running through his veins, Takeru believed that the blood of the founder of the Dragon Clan may have been awakened through the help of the grace of the ancient dragon. Takeru decided to just go with what he believed, as he himself does not know much when it comes to genetics. Like a character in an RPG game where one levels up and moves to a higher level job, a lizard must also reach a certain level of physical power and become a higher race. As Takeru apologizes to Greystone for taking the liberty of changing his race, Greystone did not mind as he was very proud to be part of a race with precious blood. Greystone thought to himself about how he wanted to have more power, but knowing that he now possessed a different type of power frightened him. When Greystone gets carried away, he forgets himself and feels like destroying everything. Takeru tries to reassure Greystone that he would overcome his challenges sooner or later, but Greystone did not feel reassured at all and thought that such advice gave off an irresponsible impression. Since Takeru can't undo what has been done to Greystone, he just gave carefree advice, which annoyed Greystone even more. Takeru was lectured by Greystone afterward. Even if one does not know much about the world, Takeru realized that one should still try to completely understand oneself. Based on what Takeru learned from Greystone, Black Nobi's power is so strong that it can even hurt allies if not used properly, which Takeru completely agrees with. After a few weeks, the adventurers launched an attack on Goron's castle and won brilliantly. After the events, Takeru could no longer get a job that would allow him to return to work on a daily basis. When Takeru went to the guild to pick up a request after a long time to regain his daily life, he was suddenly approached by Rodor. Takeru felt pressured, as Rodor pointed out how Takeru just loiters around despite being very strong. After ordering Takeru to visit his office, Rodor took the request that Takeru had picked up and ripped it in front of him. Rodor would not let Takeru accept a request until he listened to him. Inside the guildmaster's office, Takeru did not expect Rodor to bow his head, thanking him for looking after Muzelli. Takeru was surprised to learn that Rodor was actually disciplined. Based on the time he had spent with Muzelli, Rodor knew that Muzelli was not the type of person who would be cut out to be an adventurer. Unsure if it was because of what Takeru had said, Rodor shared that Muzelli had now changed after the goblin incident. Rodor was very happy when he received a call that Muzelli was going to lead the rescue squad. Curious, Takeru asks Rodor why he placed Muzelli on the front lines, knowing that he would freak out. Rodor was left with no other options but to use every bit of resources he could get his hands on. When Takeru mentioned the possibility that Muzelli could have died, Rodor just laughed and told Takeru that working for the guild meant that one must be prepared to risk their life. After explaining to Takeru that part of his job was to think of the greater good of the country even if it would cost a person's life, Rodor was not amused by Takeru's indifferent reaction, and asked Takeru if he was not going to curse at him. Takeru responded by pointing out that Rodor should apologize to him for sending an F rank to the battlefield, regardless of whether it was guild policy. Because of Rodor's decision to have Takeru placed on the battlefield, they were able to achieve significant success. Rodor then asked Takeru about his true identity, as he believed it would be foolish of him not to notice how someone from the countryside fought without fear. Rodor became annoyed when Takeru responded innocently, informing him that he was just an F rank who was good at collecting materials. After sharing that his magic power was just a little above average, Takeru thought to himself that he was not lying. Takeru knew the reason Wade was with Rodor was to confirm if he was telling the truth. No matter how much Wade examined him, he could never uncover Takeru's true identity. Wade confirmed to Rodor that Takeru had not lied. After Takeru admitted that he was hiding something, he reassured Rodor that what he was hiding was not harmful, and that he would be very careful not to cause any problems. After being told by Rodor that he and Greystone were the saviors of the town of Belkium, Takeru asked what reward he could receive. When Rodor responded that Takeru could get anything as long as the guild could afford it, Rodor spit out his drink when Takeru only asked for the location of the Mont Blanc crab. Both Wade and Rodor were confused by Takeru's question and even laughed when Takeru mentioned that he loved crab meat. Unsure why the two laughed so hard, Takeru guessed that it was due to some cultural difference. Barely stopping his laughter, Rodor took responsibility and provided Takeru with the information he wanted. Laughing so hard, Rodor decided to make Takeru's request one of the rewards. In return for receiving the reward, Rodor wished for Takeru to stay in Belkium for the time being. Seeing Wade wink at him, Takeru believed that Wade understood how he felt. When Rodor asked Takeru if he was acquainted with the Lord, Takeru responded that he was not. Rodor then informed Takeru that the Lord was eager to see the young dragon Black Nobi. As Black Nobi hid behind him, Takeru asked Rodor if the Lord planned to take Black Nobi away from him. Rodor responded that he was not sure if anyone could even force a dragon and mentioned that the Lord was a reasonable person, despite being a noble. Rodor advises Takeru not to refuse the Lord's invitation. After informing Takeru that they couldn't let him remain an F rank with his overwhelming power, Rodor was then asked by Takeru to let him stay as an F rank for the time being, as he was content with his current situation. Thanks to the goblin subjugation rewards, Takeru's savings exceeded 10 million. Takeru had made a fortune that now allowed him to afford a house with a garden. After Rodor apologized for suddenly inviting him, Takeru then returned to the lobby to pick up a request. Seeing that only high-ranking quests were left, Takeru felt disappointed, as he had purposely woken up early to take easy, low-level quests. Since they were not currently in need of money, Takeru decided to go someplace he had always wanted to visit, the commercial district. The Belkium Commercial Zone is a place where all the processed products of Belkium are made. The area is also known as the Craftsmanship City. Arriving at the commercial district, Takeru immediately felt the hot air. Planning to buy a few things in the district, Takeru visited a nearby shop. Looking at the weapons placed on the walls, although Takeru did not need weapons or armor, he still appreciated how amazing the items were. Seeing a huge sword, Takeru immediately thought that it was meant for giants like Rodor. Although he had seen so many swords, Takeru had not yet come across a single katana. After putting down the sword, Takeru was approached by a Beast King, as she was not expecting any visitors on the first day of the month. She then asked Takeru if there was something bothering him. Takeru asked the female Beastkin if they were selling material collecting scissors. The woman responded that they did not sell scissors. She then told Takeru that the general purpose tools, which might include scissors, were at the other store ahead. Curious, the woman asked Takeru why he needed scissors when he was such a huge person, even pointing out that the scissors Takeru was holding were already in bad shape. The female Beastkin then realized something and asked Takeru if he was the rumored adventurer who was extremely good at collecting materials. Takeru was curious as to why the female Beastkin would think of him as a material collector. The female Beastkin explained that the rumors she had heard were that the famous material collector was a big human with a baby dragon. After establishing that Takeru was indeed the famous material collector, the female Beastkin asked Takeru if the scissors were what he was using to collect materials. Takeru responded that the scissors were the tool he had been using to enhance the materials he was collecting. However, Takeru had been collecting low-grade materials because his scissors were losing their sharpness. After asking Takeru to wait, the female Beastkin immediately ran back inside the shop calling for her boss. Takeru felt embarrassed as he could hear the conversation the female Beastkin was having with her boss. The female Beastkin informed her boss that they might be able to get the Eldora ore from the Luhe mine. However, the boss found the idea quite absurd, as he knew that no material collector could enter the mine. As the female Beastkin returned and apologized to Takeru, she then felt embarrassed when Takeru told her that he already knew what she was planning. After apologizing for speaking so loudly, the female Beastkin asked Takeru if he was willing to hear more inside the shop. When Takeru confirmed with the female Beastkin that they were offering a gathering request, the female Beastkin felt embarrassed asking someone she had just met to accept their request. But since they were in a bind, she hoped that Takeru would at least listen to their story. The female Beastkin became happy as Takeru responded that he would probably just listen to their story and nothing more. Entering the shop, the female Beastkin apologized to Takeru for the loud noise and showed him around. As Takeru became interested after seeing how the blacksmiths worked on the items, the female Beastkin shared her fascination with the craft with Takeru, hoping that she could hone her skills and make weapons that heroes could use. Takeru was not sure, but he felt happy listening to the Beastkin talk about her dreams with sparkling eyes. Standing in front of the boss's room, the female Beastkin informed Takeru in advance that their boss had a bit of a bad attitude and that he should just not mind it. Upon meeting Takeru, the boss mentioned how Takeru had already accomplished a lot even though he was still new to the city. When the boss mentioned that Takeru looked like a weak person, the female Beastkin then scolded her boss for trying to intimidate Takeru, who they were trying to ask for help. As the two quarreled, the female Beastkin grabbed hold of her boss's mustache and apologized to Takeru, explaining that she had been tasked with looking for someone who might be able to help them. As the boss informed the Beastkin that he had not yet accepted Takeru to handle the job, the female Beastkin then reminded her boss of their deadline. Since the boss did not want to make a top-notch product with their low-grade materials, the female Beastkin hoped that her boss would try to compromise, as she also felt frustrated. To stop the two from fighting, Takeru pulled out some snacks and tea to cool their heads. Apologizing for their behavior, the two were surprised at how delicious the snacks were. Takeru was glad to see that the two had finally calmed themselves down. The female Beastkin apologized to Takeru as she remembered that she had not yet introduced themselves. The female Beastkin then told Takeru that her name was Ribble, and that the boss of the weaponsmith shop was named Gluthus. After asking for Takeru's help in finding the Eldora ore, Takeru responded that he had never heard the ore's name before and asked where it was found. The Eldora ore was a special type of ore that could only be found in a place called Luhe Mine, which was managed by dwarves. The ore had an attribute that reacted to magic power. Planning to use the attribute of the ore, Ribble believed that the material would be more flexible to process than steel and harder than mithril. Ribble shared that the amount of ore in the mine had suddenly decreased, and that people were still figuring out what the cause was. The dwarves who were managing the mine were now troubled, as it was one of their sources of income. Though Ribble and Gluthus felt troubled that they were not getting the material they needed due to the problem in the mine, they couldn't help but really appreciate how good the snacks and tea were. After Takeru asked about the deadline for their product, Ribble revealed that they needed to forge a sword before the craftsman's tournament. which would be held in 2 months. Finally understanding their circumstances, Takeru shared his opinion about how Gluthis was not convinced by her plan. Gluthis informed Ribble that making a request might be easy for her because all she did was ask. Gluthis then asked Ribble if she was even aware that the Luhe mine was not just a mine. Ribble retorted that Takeru would be fine because he was an adventurer. However, Gluthis was not convinced of Takeru's abilities and was also worried for his safety. Gluthis then asked Ribble what she would do if Takeru ended up dying inside the mine. With Takeru's popularity, Gluthis was also worried that the shop might not withstand the backlash they would get if people learned that they were the reason a famous collector had died. Riding a coach toward Luhe Mine, Takeru had ended up accepting the request from Gluthis, the blacksmith, to find the Eldora ore. In exchange, Takeru asked for the strongest material collecting scissors to be forged. Seeing the nearby river, Takeru thought it was very beautiful. Hearing Takeru's reaction, the driver asked if it was his first time seeing the great river Courage. The driver then shared how the river is the largest in Belgium and how one does not often see a crystal-clear river like the one they were witnessing. Takeru had assumed that what he was seeing was the ocean, and had not expected it to be just a river. The driver then informed Takeru that the village just ahead was their destination, Abila village. Takeru remembered how some villages close their inns at night and was relieved that they would be arriving at the village before nightfall. Takeru then heard the two passengers talking about the Rubsuri Pass, which, according to rumors, was a mystery. The two shared how the poisonous grass that bloomed all over the hill had suddenly withered, and now only normal flowers bloomed there. The sorcerers lamented this, but it seemed the locals were happy to find that the strange visitors had stopped appearing. The passengers also shared how the Shiraki forest, known to be home to demons, was now a forest without any demons at all. The two passengers found it very creepy how the forest had suddenly changed overnight. Hearing about these strange changes occurring in various places, Takeru wondered if it was because he had absorbed and purified Vol's magical energy. The two passengers then thanked Takeru, as their worries suddenly vanished after seeing Black Nobi's cheerful expression. Takeru was unsure of what he was feeling, even though he might be the reason for all the changes. After thanking the driver for the ride, Takeru was warned by the driver to steer clear of the Luhe mine, as he had heard the place had become especially dangerous lately. The driver also informed Takeru that he would rarely see coaches passing through Abila, and suggested that Takeru rent or buy a house there. Takeru had originally planned to ride a horse while collecting, which he believed was fine. Before leaving, the driver said goodbye to Takeru, as well as Black Nobi. While looking for a place to stay, Takeru heard Black Nobi's voice, and upon turning around, Takeru saw a stable. Seeing the stable up close, Takeru noticed that it housed a wide variety of animals. Reading the sign, Takeru learned that the carriage horse was highly recommended. Takeru also realized that in the world of Medeus, animals capable of carrying luggage or people were called horses. After asking Black Nobi if he was looking forward to having more company, Takeru shut down the young dragon's excitement by informing him that they would need to find a place to stay first. As they were about to leave, Takeru suddenly heard someone shouting. Believing the voice sounded familiar, Takeru decided to see what was happening inside. A woman was arguing with an old man, requesting a pure white heavenly horse but being given a white raven instead. The woman asked if the bird could even fly with its huge body. The old man responded that flying was possible, but only for a short flight. He then pointed out that the large chicken he was offering was very rare. Seeing the woman, Takeru remembered that she was the elf he had met shortly after being reincarnated into the world of Medeus. The woman then ordered the old man to prepare a heavenly horse for her, but the old man could not comply with her request, as such an animal was not available in their village. The woman then reminds the old man how he had told her that he could prepare a pure white heavenly horse for her. The old man clarifies to the woman that every animal from the stables capable of transportation jobs is called a horse. This is why, when the woman said that she wanted a horse that could soar through the heavens, the old man thought that the only animals they had that could do such a thing were the big chicken or big egret. Realizing that it was her fault to begin with, the woman apologizes for her behavior. After clearing up the misunderstanding, the woman asks the old man if there are any stables around that have a heavenly horse. The old man shares that the heavenly horse is extremely rare, but one might find them in their natural habitat at Vosrau. The woman immediately recognizes the place, which is situated in the dwarf country. Before leaving, the woman thanks the old man and apologizes for the trouble she had caused him. When the woman finally encounters Takeru, he feels familiar to her. The woman then realizes that it is Takeru and calls him the sweet and fluffy man. The woman is happy that they were able to meet again, and she then asks Takeru if he is looking for a horse as well. Takeru responds that he is, but he is in no rush and plans to look for a horse when he is in another city. When Takeru shares that he plans to go to the city of Vosrau, the woman becomes happy, as she shares that she is also headed to the same place. The woman tries to offer help at first, but she feels embarrassed when her stomach suddenly growls. The woman is very thankful to Takeru when he offers to eat together. Not expecting a hug from an elf, Takeru thinks that he is finally experiencing what he once fantasized. However, his fantasy is immediately shattered when he notices how stinky the woman is and asks her why she smells so bad. The woman explains that she has been camping outside and just arrived at Abila village not long ago. Takeru understands if the woman could not change her clothes, but he had hoped that she would at least wipe her body. The woman did not have time to clean herself as she became excited when she found a stable that had a heavenly horse. The woman then tells Takeru that her personal hygiene is none of his business. Takeru feels disappointed, as he had always thought that elves would smell like a peppermint spring breeze. However, in reality, they smell like compost. The woman feels disrespected when Takeru compares her to compost. Takeru apologizes for his words but points out that the woman does indeed smell like compost. Activating his clean spell, the woman is surprised as she now looks very clean. Takeru explains that the woman was unbelievably stinky, so he decided to clean her up. Wondering if what she experienced was magic, the woman asks Takeru if he is a magician, although Takeru tries explaining that he is just a material collector who can do a little magic. The woman simply agrees even though she does not understand what Takeru is saying. When Takeru tells the woman that he will be staying at an inn, he then asks what she will do. After Takeru confirms that he is okay with the woman tagging along with him, he believes that it is some kind of fate for them to meet again. Since the two are headed to the same place, Takeru thinks that he could at least give the woman some food to stop her stomach from grumbling. The woman becomes happy and expects that Takeru will help her out, as she has always thought that he is a kind man. Seeing the woman shake with excitement, Takeru's heart races, believing that he will receive another hug. However, he is shocked to see that the woman just turns around and happily skips off, looking for a place for them to eat. When morning came, Brolit felt amazing, as Takeru had not only treated her to dinner but also made breakfast for her. Takeru did not expect that Brolita would be such a gluttonous girl, despite the fact that he and Black Nobi also ate a lot. Takeru then asked Brolita if she had brought anything with her. Brolita explained that everything she had was used up during her journey, even selling her belongings and only receiving 3 copper coins for them. Seeing that Takeru was only carrying 1 bag, Brolita assumed that she and Takeru were in the same situation. Takeru reassured Brolita and told her that everything he needed was inside his bag. Believing the bag to be a dimensional bag, Brolita found it to be very cool. Takeru thought that Brolita was truly not a bad person, as she was not even surprised after seeing his dimensional bag. While picking up some raw materials, Takeru explained how there were mushrooms that could make one's body bigger and a wildflower that looked like butterbur. Noticing a couple of markers nearby, Takeru approached the markers and discovered that the place was filled with moonlit flowers. Takeru had already calculated that he would not have to worry about food expenses if he sold all of the moonlit flowers. Brolita called out to Takeru, informing him that she had found something amazing. Brolita showed Takeru what she thought was hammer anteater poop. Unfortunately for Brolita, Takeru revealed that what she was holding was just an ordinary stone. Brolita then showed the large mushroom she had picked up. Takeru explained that what Brolita brought was an adashi mushroom, which was known to be a deadly poisonous mushroom. Both Black Nobi and Brolita laughed when they heard Takeru mention that the mushroom was deadly poisonous. Brolita then asked Takeru if the mushrooms he found were edible. Showing a large mushroom, Takeru informed Brolita that they could boil or grill it, and that it could also be used as an ingredient. Salivating at how delicious the mushroom looked, both Black Nobi and Brolita were already getting hungry just imagining it. Takeru decided that they should set up camp since the sun was about to set. Brolita was amazed at how dependable Takeru's bag was after witnessing how much it could hold. Takeru then told Brolita that there was no need to hold back as they still had enough food to reach their destination. Takeru told Brolita that there was no need for her to gather firewood, as he had brought a magic stone for them to use. Brolita insisted and explained that leaving the remains of a campfire would also let others know that the place was a safe place to camp. Since not everyone possessed magic like Takeru, Brolita believed that they should share as much information as they could. After going to the forest, Brolita immediately returned and was now holding a large tree. Brolita told Takeru to wait, as she would turn the large tree into firewood. Takeru was surprised when Brolita suddenly threw the large tree up in the air. Using only a knife, Brolita decimated the large tree, leaving only small pieces for the campfire. Takeru's image of elves was falling apart more and more after witnessing Brolita easily carrying a large tree and throwing it with her slender body. Takeru wondered if the dagger that Brolita was holding was enchanted after seeing how effective it was. Using his scan on the dagger, Takeru found out that the dagger was a hidden treasure of the High Elves. Since Brolita possessed an item that came from the High Elves, he assumed that Brolita was also a High Elf. Noticing how Takeru had suddenly gone quiet, Brolite asked him if he was fascinated by her splendid technique. Seeing Brolite's ability and the possibility that she might be a high elf, Takeru leaned toward the idea that Brolite could be an important person. At night, Takeru was tasting his cooking. Noticing that both Black Nobi and Brolite were so eager to eat his cooking, Takeru informed them that the food was now ready. Black Nobi and Brolite's eyes brightened when they smelled the scent of the food. Tasting the soup, Brolite was surprised by how delicious the food was. Feeling so happy to have wonderful food for their dinner, Brolite praised Takeru's cooking skills and asked if he was a chef as well. After Takeru mentioned that he was just a material collector, Brolite then asked if he was headed to Vosrau because of a request. Takeru shared how he had accepted a request to look for Ildora ore inside the Luhe mine. After being asked by Takeru about her reason, Brolite shared that she was looking for a heavenly horse for her sister. Remembering how Brolite had kept mentioning a heavenly horse back in Ebila village, Takeru asked why she was so fixated on the heavenly horse. Brolite explained how her sister desired a white-winged horse and that she was just trying to fulfill her sister's wish. As Takeru shared how he was looking for a unicorn for himself, Brolite offered to help Takeru in searching for a unicorn and shared that she knew a lot about unicorns. Although Brolite currently did not have much, she still reassured Takeru that she would repay the favor. Brolite was confused when Takeru told her that he did not need money and only wished for Brolite to teach him the basic things, like the purpose of the campfire she had mentioned before. Seeing Brolite's dumbfounded look, Takeru was not sure how to explain why he only requested to be taught basic things, and informed Brolite that their basic concepts were quite complicated for him. Assuming that Takeru would ask for her secret technique or hidden treasure, Brolite found Takeru to be a very strange man for requesting to be taught only basic things. After realizing why Takeru did not ask for other important things, Brolite believed that fate had brought them together. As Brolite thanked their precious god, Liberalina, she stretched out her hand and told Takeru that she would be in his care. As the two shook hands, Takeru did not feel anything when Brolite laughed, but his heart skipped a beat when he saw Brolite smile. Takeru then felt nervous as he realized that he was camping with a woman. However, Takeru's fantasy was once again shattered after seeing how loudly Brolite snored. Despite Brolite's pretty appearance, Takeru could only see an old man hiding inside her. After their long journey, Brolite pointed ahead and told Takeru that they were almost at their destination. Across the river was the country of the dwarves, and beside it was the Luhai mine. Takeru was amazed at their destination, comparing it to the Hotaka Mountains. Hearing about the Hotaka Mountains for the first time, Brolite asked Takeru where they were located. Unsure how to explain, Takeru simply told Brolite that it was the mountain range where he used to live, and mentioned that they looked quite similar. Takeru found the mountain quite magnificent, as he could not tell how high it was. Seeing the summit covered in snow, Takeru realized that the world of Medeus also had snow, and he was glad that the snow's color had not changed. Brolite suggested to Takeru that they eat something after crossing into the dwarf territory. Takeru informed Brolite that penniless people could not afford to be selfish, as they were going to find an inn first before thinking about food. Starving, Brolite called Takeru a demon after being told that she would not have an inn or food if they did not find an inn first. Arriving at the Sylvan Inn inside the Grand Rio Dwarf Kingdom, all the people were so lively as various types of products were being sold. Seeing Takeru's surprised look, Brolite informed him that a lot of peddlers gathered in the city. An old man then called for Brolite's attention, offering her a miracle fruit that would make her hair glossy and silky. Flattered after hearing the old man's compliments about her appearance, Brolite then asked how much the fruit cost. Takeru asked Brolite if something was wrong. Brolite informed Takeru that the merchant was selling her a rare fruit at a discounted price. Using his ability, Takeru immediately recognized that Brolite was being ripped off as the fruit was only D rank. Seeing Brolite's conflicted look, Takeru reminded her that she did not even have any money to spend, before dragging her away. Not even a minute had passed when Brolite was approached again by someone offering her work. Intrigued by the promise of good pay, Brolite asked for more details about it. Seeing that Brolite was easily swayed when it came to money, Takeru tried to steer Brolite away from the job by informing her that the raw materials he had found would be enough to cover their expenses. Takeru thought that even though Brolite knew so many things, she still seemed to be naive, and he wondered if she was actually a sheltered princess. Arriving at the Inn Ragzant, known as an unusual inn with a bathhouse, Brolite was shocked to learn that the inn had a bathhouse and asked Takeru why he was being so luxurious. Brolite thought that there were much cheaper inns around the city. Listening to Brolite made Takeru question her sense of money. When Takeru told Brolite that he could pay for her rent, Brolite pointed out how she was becoming more indebted to him. To repay her debts, Takeru suggested that Brolite help him gather the Ildora ore. Since there were a lot of monsters inside the Luhai mine, Takeru would feel safe if there was someone with some basic knowledge to protect him. After being offered by Takeru as his temporary bodyguard, Brolit becomes excited as she believes that bodyguards are skilled swordsmen whose job is to protect the Lord against villains. Seeing Brolit become more energetic, even wanting to risk her life for the job, Takeru immediately told her not to stake her life on the line. Before entering the Ragzant Inn, Brolite requested to eat the dwarven specialty, meat roll jupe. Inside one of the popular restaurants in the city called Kortawa, Takeru was surprised at how crowded the place was. Brolit then explained to Takeru that the place served the most delicious food around, which was the reason why the place was so noisy. Takeru asked Brolite if she had eaten at the restaurant before. Before Brolit could finish her response, she was interrupted by the sound of a grumbling stomach. The server then approached Takeru's table and gave them 3 servings of meat rolls. The meat roll jupe is known as a classic dwarven dish of nutritious jupe stalks wrapped in rich, juicy meat. Not expecting to see a meat roll in Medeus, Takeru then took a bite to know what the meat roll tasted like. Takeru immediately fell so in love with the food that he was not able to stop himself from commenting like a gourmet. Having a wonderful time eating the meat roll, Brolita mentioned how the food tasted exactly as her friend described it. Hearing what Brolite said, Takeru then told Brolite that he was also thankful to Brolita's friend for allowing them to enjoy the delicious meat roll. When Takeru asked Brolite if her friend was also an elf, Brolite responded that her friend was a skilled and brilliant lizard man, and was known to be a strong warrior. Takeru did not expect that Brolite's friend would be a lizard man, and he shared that he also had a friend who was a former lizard man. As their conversation continued and it was revealed that their friend had become a dragon knight and was known as the Dragon King of Honor, Takeru started to realize that he might know Brolite's friend. Takeru was surprised when he heard a familiar voice behind him. When the mysterious figure sitting behind Takeru mentioned how he left town without saying a word to him, Takeru sensed a bad feeling, as he was sure that meeting the person behind him was not a coincidence. Upon turning around, it was revealed that the person behind Takeru was none other than Kraystone, munching on meat. Kraystone thought that fate might be at play, as he did not expect that his 2 friends were also friends. Takeru explained to Kraystone that he had informed the guild that he was leaving the city for a while. Kraystone was not pleased that Takeru had only given vague information and told him to specify the exact place next time. Kraystone shared how he had to find Takeru's location through Wade. After informing Kraystone that he planned to return in about half a month, Takeru then explained the request he accepted from the weaponsmith Gluthus and his apprentice Ribble to find Ildora ore in the Luhay mine. After being reminded by Kraystone that Takeru is not allowed to accept such a request with his current rank, Takeru surprised Kraystone when he informed him that he did not accept the request through the guild. Seeing that Kraystone was about to switch into lecture mode, Takeru tried to calm him down, explaining how he could not ignore Gluthus and Ribble's pleas. Sighing, Kraystone was no longer sure if Takeru was a good or bad person, or a person who acted without thinking. Since Takeru accepted such a dangerous request, Kraystone guessed that the reward Takeru would get would be at least reasonable. Takeru then shared with Kraystone how he would receive a special pair of scissors in exchange for bringing the Ildora ores. Even though Takeru explained the special scissors in detail, Kraystone still could not understand the luxury behind them. When Takeru asked if the reward he chose was a bad idea, Kraystone was not sure how to respond, as he no longer understood Takeru's behavior and choices. Takeru wondered if Kraystone now thought of him as a poor person. Brolite then called Takeru, informing him that she had finished eating and was now getting sleepy, wanting to go back to the inn to sleep. Takeru tried his best to hold his anger, as Brolite kept ruining his fantasy about elves. Out of nowhere, Kraystone offered to help Takeru with the journey to the Luhay mine. Kraystone also thought the timing was great, since his spear was currently being repaired in Vosrau. Upon learning that Kraystone would be joining them, Brolita immediately stood up and shared how reassured she felt with Kraystone coming along. Takeru tried to talk his way out of Kraystone's offer. However, he could not escape, as Kraystone informed him that he was very well suited for the task, since he had been to Vosrau before. When Brolita asked Kraystone if he would also become Takeru's bodyguard, Takeru was shocked, as he could tell that the situation was getting worse. After Brolita mentioned that they would be going to Vosrau, Kraystone became intrigued and offered to become Takeru's bodyguard. The two then held each other's hands as they became excited to risk their lives to protect Takeru. Takeru was not happy with Kraystone also now becoming his bodyguard. Looking at his bodyguards, Takeru could only see a preacher samurai and the old man Kraystone, while Brolite appeared to be a pitiful elf who behaved like an old man. Knowing his bodyguard's strength, Takeru knew that he should be relieved. However, he wondered why he was so anxious. Previously, when Takeru returned to Tormi village from Shiraki Forest, he had a fun time with Porun's family. Takeru only hoped that his new journey would be the same. However, his gut was telling him that it would not be the case. Takeru and his group are lining up to enter the city of Vosrau. While reading more details about the Vosrau reef, Takeru noticed that a festival would be held. Takeru then thought about tweaking the system so that it would make things easier for them. Takeru was confused when Greystone suddenly approached the gatekeeper. Both Brolite and Takeru wondered if Greystone was friends with the gatekeeper. After being called by Greystone, they were then guided inside by the gatekeeper. Entering through the small entrance, Takeru wondered if they had just received special treatment. Greystone explained that he had found his friend among the gatekeepers, and wanted to say hello, but ended up getting them quick entry into Vosrau. Takeru was worried about what other people might think, but before he could finish his sentence, Greystone interrupted him and pointed out the phenomenal view of Vosrau. The gatekeeper then welcomed Takeru and his group to the dwarf country. Aside from the sunlight, Takeru noticed that some of the light coming from the ceiling seemed to be produced by magic tools. Not expecting to see exhaust fans up on the walls, Takeru wondered if air was being circulated. Still worried, Takeru asked the gatekeeper if he was sure about letting them into the city without running a background check. The gatekeeper responded that he was sure, as being friends with Dana was sufficient for him. Confused, Takeru guessed that the gatekeeper was referring to Greystone when he mentioned Dana. Takeru then wondered if Greystone had visited the country before. Realizing that Takeru and the others were clueless, the gatekeeper asked Greystone if he had informed them that he was an old friend of the king of Vosrau. Upon hearing that Greystone was friends with such an important person, Takeru was greatly shocked. Greystone then clarified that he wouldn't call his relationship with the king of the dwarves a friendship, but rather an inseparable bond. Seeing Greystone being humble, the gatekeeper shared how Greystone had driven off the Gorai king Zengum and protected their country. Since ancient times, Vosrau had been a neutral place. Although the country of the dwarves built weapons, they did not have armed forces. The city of Vosrau had been protected by its iron wall and large gate. However, 10 years ago, a demon managed to get inside by disguising himself as a human. The peaceful days in the city of Vosrau came to an end when the demon transformed into what the dwarves called Gorai King Zengum. The attack on Vosrau city by one demon alone started the dark era of ruthless resource exploitation. The one who fought back against the Gorai King and repelled him was Dana alone. Hearing the story, Takeru then realized why they had received a special pass. Greystone told the gatekeeper that the story was not entirely true. Greystone then revealed that he had just happened to be in the city at that time, and when the demon saw him, it ran away. Greystone guessed that the demon was probably a non-combat type that specialized in transformation magic. Takeru then commented that Greystone was the reason why the city was saved, as he still got rid of their enemy. The gatekeeper then shared that Greystone not only helped them with the Gorai King, but he also taught them how to handle weapons. Greystone interrupted the gatekeeper again, revealing that he only taught them basic moves, and that the rest was then taught by other adventurers in exchange for a reward. Brolite joined the conversation, commenting that everything else was not a lie. Although the dwarves exaggerated the story, it still did not change the fact that they were indebted to Greystone. Hearing the whole story about Greystone and the city of Vosrau, Takeru felt happy for Greystone, even imagining how Greystone would get a scary statue in appreciation for saving the country. Greystone then commented that he believed he did not do enough to receive a statue. Both Brolite and Takeru agreed, guessing that the city of Vosrau would not go that far. However, they instantly saw a scary statue that portrayed their city's hero, Greystone. Brolite then teased Greystone by commenting that the statue looked cooler than him. Visiting the Callisto Guild, Takeru handed the raw materials he had picked to the receptionist, Zambo. Hearing about Takeru from Grit, Zambo had a hard time believing it at first, but seeing how Takeru handed over good quality products convinced him. Zambo was grateful to Takeru as the raw materials he brought were enough to replenish their supplies. Brolite then popped out from behind and asked Takeru if he was able to sell the items at a high price, and if they were able to eat now. Checking the receipt, Takeru noticed that the moonlit flower was worth more than in the Europa Guild. Aside from the moonlit flower, the prices of herbs for recovery medicine were also highly priced. Receiving so much money for the materials he collected made Takeru believe that the dwarves really needed them. Greystone then asked Zambo about the status of the Luhe mine. Zambo responded with a question asking if Takeru and the others were looking for the Ildora ore. After confirming that they were, Takeru shared that he had been asked by Gluthus, the weaponsmith in Europa. Zambo's eyes glowed as he believed that if the request came from Gluthus, the one who accepted the request must be very skilled. Zambo then told Takeru and the others that the request was a waste of effort, informing them that the mine was currently closed because a terrible monster had appeared. Zambo corrected himself, stating that it was not a monster but rather a devil. A few months ago, the land around Vosrau started shaking violently. Because of the disaster, it awakened a ferocious demon that had been sleeping in the depths of the mine. Thinking back to a couple of months ago, Takeru felt that the incident in Vosrau was related to Black Nobi's awakening and Vol's purification. Though Takeru believed that Black Nobi's awakening was the cause of the earthquake, he had no intention of blaming him. Takeru believed that no matter how frightening the monster in the mine was, it could not be stronger than Vol. Zombo was surprised when Takeru asked whom he had to show the referral letter written by Gluthus. Zombo could not believe that Takeru still wanted to continue even after hearing about the monster. When Zombo asked Takeru if he was not scared at all, Takeru responded that he was not, as he had reliable friends by his side. Takeru then stated that the desire to collect the Eldora ore inside the Luhai mine was much stronger than his fear. Inside the dwarf castle, Takeru and the others met with the dwarf king, Zorowadin. After King Zorowadin greeted his old friend, Kraystone greeted him and shared how he had heard some trouble had arisen. King Zorowadin reassured Kraystone that the problem was related to the mine and was nothing significant. Seeing Takeru and Brolite standing beside Kraystone, King Zorowadin guessed that they were Kraystone's friends, and informed them that there was no need to be formal with him, and that they could even call him either Zoro or Din. Knowing that he was speaking with someone of very high status, Takeru was hesitant to agree with the king's suggestion. Takeru was surprised when Brolita commented on how King Zorowadin was easy to talk to. Takeru used to think of the dwarf king as a majestic and dignified figure, but upon seeing the real thing, Takeru found the dwarf king to be cute and friendly. Kraystone approached King Zorowadin, asking him about the giant statue in the central square. Pleased that Kraystone had finally seen the statue they made, King Zorowadin informed Kraystone that the statue was their pride and joy. After being told by Kraystone not to use him as a reference, King Zorowadin dismissed Kraystone's words and told him that his statue was like their guardian angel. Seeing the two talk so loudly to each other regardless of their status, Takeru thought that he did not have the time to watch two good friends argue and decided to stop them. Takeru interrupted the two and then introduced himself to King Zorowadin. After King Zorowadin reminded Takeru to stop being so formal, he commented on how it was a rare sight to see someone so young with a dragon as a companion. Wanting to get to the point of their visit, Takeru showed a letter, mentioning that it was a letter of introduction. Wanting to see the contents of the letter, Consul Seraphin asked if he could read it. After reading the letter, Consul Seraphin informed the king that it brought good news. Consul Seraphin then informed King Zorowadin that the letter came from Gluthus Pendrasus, the representative of the Belkium Commercial District Arms Blacksmithing Association. As Consul Seraphin read the letter in front of the king, Takeru was surprised to hear that the letter mentioned he would search for the truth about what happened with the recent disturbance. Takeru kept his mouth shut, not planning to search for the truth about the Luhai mine. After hearing that the recommendation came from Gluthus, King Zorowadin was still unsure if it was a good idea to send Takeru into an area they considered a danger zone. When Kraystone asked the king if the mine had truly become dangerous, King Zorowadin responded that it had, informing Kraystone of a demon nesting in the northern part of the tunnel. Based on the rumors they had heard, the demon had numerous limbs in addition to its enormous size. The Grand Rio Kingdom had also made a request to the guild to defeat the monster, but it had been ignored by adventurers, even after a hefty reward was offered. Takeru wonders if the adventurers are just going to wait, just to see how it goes with the request. Kraystone had the same thought as Takeru, sharing that the reason why adventurers visit Vosrau is because of its excellent collection of armors. However, when dealing with a mysterious demon, Kraystone believed that even adventurers would be cautious. Strange occurrences are happening in the peaceful Luhai mine, including a monster that is nesting in the tunnel where people often come and go. Takeru does not have the time to wait around for other adventurers to investigate, since Gluthus needed to submit his best work at a tournament. The only option Takeru sees is that they have to get into the tunnel and mine the Eldora ore as soon as possible. Before leaving, Takeru asked for the king's permission for one more thing. The next day, Takeru and the others arrived at the Genbudo cave entrance. Takeru asks Kraystone once again if he was really coming along with them. Kraystone's decision did not waver, as he has accepted that he is Takeru's bodyguard. Zombo suddenly appeared behind Takeru, asking them if they are now ready to enter the mine. Wearing his digging outfit, Zombo reassures Takeru that he will not get in their way and that he will just watch what they are doing. Although Takeru does not mind that Zombo watches him gather the materials, Takeru was not sure if watching him would be any help at all, as he will just use his magic to collect the materials. After receiving the map of the tunnel from Zombo, Takeru wonders if the map is accurate, as it was a hand-drawn map. With no other information that he can use, Takeru decided to just trust the map and memorized it. Using his spell read, Takeru felt reassured that he wouldn't get lost inside the tunnels. Brolite approached Takeru, asking him what he just did, as she could feel a wave of magic from him for a moment. Kraystone was surprised by Brolite's words, as he did not feel any magic from Takeru at all. Takeru explained that he had memorized the map so that they wouldn't get lost if they were separated. When Greystone asked what he meant by memorizing the map, Takeru further explained that he used magic to memorize the map in an instant. Takeru often used his memorization spell at the library because back then, the books were so valuable that they would charge a person a few silver coins just to borrow them for a day. Depending on the volume of the memories, Takeru shared that memorizing a single map would only use a bit of his magic power. Puzzled, Brolita asked Greystone if he had heard of such spells before. Staring at Takeru, Greystone responded that he had not. Avoiding eye contact, Takeru believed that informing everyone about his skill was something he should not have done. Brolita reminded Takeru how he had mentioned that he was not a magician but also believed that what Takeru had performed was something only a skilled magician could do. After repeating himself to Brolita that he was not a magician, Takeru then asked Zombo to lead the way. The more Takeru revealed about his gift, the more complicated things would get for him. Takeru guessed that he would just need to be careful about using his gift moving forward. In front of the Luhei Mine's north tunnel, there is a vast vein of Ildora ore behind the tightly closed door. However, opening the door would also reveal the mysterious monster they would be facing. After confirming that everyone was ready to enter the mine, Zombo then pulled the lever and opened the doors to the mine. Unable to see anything at all, Takeru cast his light spell to help everyone see. Although Takeru only cast a simple light spell, everyone was shocked, as they had never seen such a spell before. Witnessing Takeru's spells, Brolita asked him again if he was really not some famed magician. After repeating himself again to Brolita that he was not a magician, Takeru pulled out a material and placed it at the entrance. Activating the material with his chant, Brolita and Greystone were once again surprised and kept on asking Takeru what he had just done. Takeru was starting to get annoyed with the barrage of questions he was receiving after casting a spell. Takeru explained to Brolita that he only placed a mark so that they would know the location of the entrance wherever they were. As Brolita understood the reason why Takeru placed his magic power into the magic stone, Takeru decided that he would leave out how the magic stone acted as a beacon in his memory map, and as an object he could use to teleport them back to the entrance. The magic was also one of the spells that Takeru came up with because of how vast Belkium was. The teleportation magic that Takeru developed was a one-way, one-time use only, and he would have to accompany the others for the teleport to work. Wanting to secure more locations, Takeru thought that he would need more magic stones accordingly. Following Zombo's guidance after hitting the wall, Zombo determined that there was still some Ildora ore left in the area. Zombo then asked Takeru if he could help check the surroundings. Takeru did not reveal to Zombo that he had already finished scanning the area while Zombo was still digging. Seeing that most of the ores were iron, Takeru felt that he was being tested by Zombo. When Takeru informed Zombo that the quality of the ores was low and suggested they move further in, Zombo was pleased and expected no less from one of Greystone's friends. Zombo explained that the area they were currently in had already been mined and apologized to Takeru for testing him. All of a sudden, Greystone sensed something and instructed both Takeru and Zombo to put their backs against the wall. While Takeru was curious if something was coming, Greystone believed that something was indeed coming their way, and it was not alone. Takeru was amazed by Greystone's ability, as he could not detect anything just by standing near him. Using his search spell, Takeru was able to confirm that something was indeed headed their way. Greystone asked Brolita if she could handle the creature that was headed their way alone, as he planned to protect both Takeru and Zombo by himself as well. Confidently, Brolita responded that she would take care of the monsters. As glowing eyes appeared in the dark tunnel, Takeru was shocked to see so many big spiders crawling out of the tunnel. Brolita remained unfazed and even killed a spider with just one slash of her dagger. Witnessing how Brolita was being overwhelmed by their numbers, Takeru decided to help out and activated his stop-motion spell. Not only the spiders, but also Brolita and Greystone were surprised when they saw the spiders no longer moving. Takeru explained that he only made the spiders sluggish and suggested that they use the opportunity to finish the spiders off. Agreeing with Takeru, Brolita approached the spiders and killed them one by one. Witnessing Brolita decimate the enemies, Takeru thought such fights fascinated people greatly. Although it was Takeru's second time seeing Brolita's acrobatics in action, he still found it very impressive. After defeating the last spider, Brolita became very happy and thanked Takeru for letting her fight without any worries. Takeru, on the other hand, felt disgusted seeing Brolita jumping around dripping with blood, not even realizing that she had been poisoned. Praising Brolita for a job well done, Greystone and Zombo did not realize that they had just infected themselves with poison by touching Brolita. Seeing Black Nobi approach the three, Takeru realized that the fun atmosphere was also attracting the young dragon. Before they ended up getting poisoned as well, Takeru immediately cast both Clean and Detoxify on the three. After collecting the raw materials from the spiders, Takeru shared his opinion that Brolita was the most deserving of the rewards. Brolite was confused as she believed that without Takeru's and Craystone's support, she would not have been able to win against the spiders. When Brolite suggested that they split the rewards 3 ways, Craystone voiced his opinion and shared the same thoughts as Takeru, pointing out that he only watched the battle and did nothing else. Seeing how Craystone and Brolite pushed the rewards onto each other made Takeru think that such a thing was truly a sight to behold. To stop the two from arguing, Takeru came up with an idea and informed them that they would just split the rewards evenly for all the monsters they defeated in the mine. Since Brolite and Craystone had no objection to Takeru's idea, Takeru then left the two after settling their little argument. As Takeru wanted to continue with their task, Brolite asked if they could stop for a moment as she felt hungry after moving around so much. Hearing Brolite, both Craystone and Zombo voiced their concerns as well. Takeru was now troubled, as the people he had brought with him seemed to get hungry too quickly. After cooking their meal, Takeru received high praises from his companions. When everyone was about to eat the food, Takeru immediately asked them to wait. Wondering if something was wrong as they were being asked to wait, Takeru then reminded everyone that they still had to be grateful no matter how hungry they were. Takeru then asked the others to put their hands together and say their thanks for having food to eat. Digging into the food, Zombo did not expect that the food would be so delicious and gave Takeru more praise. As Brolite had already expected that they would be eating delicious food made by Takeru, Craystone, on the other hand, who had never tasted Takeru's cooking, asked Brolite if she always ate such extraordinary food. In just a few moments, everyone was now rubbing their bellies due to being so full. Seeing everyone's smiles made Takeru remember how Porun's family also smiled brightly after eating the food he made. Brolite guessed that they had traveled quite deep already, as she did not expect the mine to be so wide, even seeing a limestone cave inside. Zombo shared that the mine had originally invited many adventurers before the demon nested inside. Craystone also heard how the adventurers that were invited helped out with mining and used the money they earned to stay in the city. Hearing stories from Zombo and Craystone, Takeru guessed that if the demon were not present, the restaurant and bathhouse would have been crowded with incoming adventurers. When Takeru commented that they had not taken the chance to tour around the big city yet, he was shocked to find out from Zombo that Vosrau did not have bathhouses. Takeru did not expect that a country as big as Vosrau would not have a bathhouse, even though they had various people visiting their country. Takeru then sighed as he realized that he would have to put up with bathing using magic a while longer. Going much deeper into the mines, Takeru and the others' presence woke a swarm of bats that were sleeping above them. Doing his duty as the group's bodyguard, Craystone defeated the bats in seconds. After receiving praise from Takeru, Craystone commented that he did not count monsters of that level as enemies. After Craystone asked Takeru if he believed that he could find the ore he had been looking for, Takeru responded that he had already found some, but they were of low-rank quality. Takeru once again used his search spell to locate a more valuable Ildora ore. When Zombo saw that Takeru was headed for a dead end, he asked Takeru what was wrong. Takeru found a faint mark that pointed to an Ildorite, a crystal with higher purity than the Ildora ore. When Zombo asked Takeru if he had found something, Takeru explained that there was an ore beyond the wall in front of them. Everyone then became excited as they finally found something after walking for a while. After Zombo inspected the wall, he could also tell that there were signs that an Ildora ore was beyond the wall. After Takeru received permission from Zombo to use his own methods for collecting the material, Takeru cast his flame spell and split it into 3. Maintaining the flame's form, Takeru then threw it at the wall. Before the flame could touch the wall, Takeru cast the eruption spell, which caused a loud explosion. As the smoke started to clear, everyone was amazed as Takeru brought down the wall and even located huge chunks of Ildorite crystals. Zombo could not contain his excitement as the crystals they had found were of good quality and high purity. Sensing magic from the crystals, Craystone asked Takeru if those were magic ores. Checking the Ildorite for more information, Takeru confirmed that the Ildorite did have special magic power in it. Magic ore is technically a magic crystal formed from condensed magic energy. Craystone believed that there was residual magic energy inside the mine. Craystone shared a fact about how monsters that went near residual magic would fall asleep for a long time. However, the longer they slept, the stronger they would become. Black Nobi suddenly started acting strange, trying to get Takeru's attention. Craystone then informed everyone that something was headed their way. Both bodyguards were surprised when Craystone asked to handle what was coming toward them. Seeing Black Nobi flustered, Craystone believed that the creature headed their way was something strong that they had never encountered before. After asking again to leave the matter to him, Takeru slowly walked away from the group. Zombo, who sensed the familiar presence, realized that the creature approaching them was none other than the demon. Both Black Nobi and Takeru's eyes glowed as they once again found a crab. Both Brolite and Craystone were confused by Takeru's reaction toward the demon. Takeru was then warned by Greystone and Broly to stop having a nonchalant conversation and to stay alert. Noticing that the demon's claw was headed his way, Takeru immediately jumped aside. Broly was confused by Takeru's actions, ordering him to run away as the monster was clearly rank A or above. Takeru had no plans to run away, as he did not want to let an exceptional main dish escape from in front of him. Takeru then asked Black Nobi to be careful and not to use any fire or thunder magic attacks. After invoking multiple spells on himself, Takeru charged toward the demon. Black Nobi then subdued the demon with its roar. As Takeru finally struck the demon with his staff, he was very pleased to see cracks on the shell, believing that his attack had worked. However, Takeru did not expect the demon to counter, and he was knocked away. Greystone wanted to offer help, but was instead instructed by Takeru to just protect Zombo. Because of his strengthened arms, Takeru was not hurt much. However, Takeru also believed that if he had been hit in an area he had not strengthened, he would most likely have received a serious injury. Takeru finally realized that the crab he was facing was different from a regular Mont Blanc crab. Assessing that the monster would not be defeated using physical attacks, Takeru then used his scan to pinpoint the crab's weak points. As Takeru cast his ice needles, he noticed that Black Nobi was also about to launch an attack. Wanting to end the fight quickly, Takeru then asked Black Nobi to sync with his ice needles and accelerate them. After throwing the ice needles toward the ice needles suddenly began spinning and managed to hit all of the demon's weak points. The demon was then slowly covered by ice until it could no longer move and was completely frozen. After finally defeating the crab demon, Takeru and Black Nobi once again put their hands together and told the crab demon that it may rest in peace. Greystone then called for Takeru and Black Nobi, holding back his anger, wanting to know why they chose to fight the demon alone. Takeru explained that he was worried there would be fewer parts left for them to eat if they let Greystone and the others injure the crab with their weapons. Greystone calmed down and accepted the fact that Takeru would always be an exception in their world, after witnessing how he single-handedly defeated an A-ranked monster. Greystone then lectured Takeru about informing them first and trying to take down the demon with a combined approach. Greystone believed that Brolita would have been a great help, as she had already proven her power. Greystone then asked Takeru to rely on them a little more, assuring Takeru that he and Broly would not ignore his ideas nor make light of them. Takeru realized how he had upset Greystone and apologized for his actions. Greystone then patted the two as he accepted their apology. Greystone then told Takeru to help pick up the frozen demon and return to their homes. After picking up most of the ores around, Takeru shared with Zombo that there were still more ores ahead. Hearing that there were more ores for them, Zombo was filled with joy and could no longer hold back his tears as he thanked Takeru and everyone else. Takeru was able to collect a considerable amount of ore just from gathering what was in front of him. Takeru believed that if the dwarves dug deeper in the area they were currently in, they would find tons of materials there. The butterfly effect from purifying Vol's magic energy was much greater than Takeru had expected. Taking action in a place where the butterfly effect had occurred, Takeru believed that it was what the man referred to as the drop that will change the world. Although Takeru simply did whatever he wanted to do, he guessed that every action he took changed the world little by little. If Takeru's theory was correct, he only hoped that the change would bring goodness to everyone he had met. That is the end of the recap at chapter 26. Please read the pinned comment about the next part.